Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Here we are.
The misery for 2022 is officially over.
Thank God.
We are not the champions, my friend.
Not even close.
Nowhere.
This
Not even
season
close.
is over. There's
Thank God it's the end. That's over. I mean, if you're looking for something positive on this Monday, it's over. That's the most positive thing I can think of. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Well, Joe Woods got fired this morning.
That's another great one.
I hate when people lose their jobs. I know that we tend to look at these people as just interchangeable. They have families.
Right.
They have
I get it.
feelings. I hate when they lose their job, but this is a very results-oriented business, and the results just were not there. Joe Woods fired. That's the big news from yesterday to today. Not a surprise. The surprise would have been if he hadn't been fired by noon today. I would have been shocked.
Yes.
Mike Prefer's still on staff. That means it's likely he's staying on staff.
Yeah.
Right.
And Kevin Stefanski's going to give his news conference here in a little over an hour, so he's not going anywhere for those of you that thought he could be
at
in the
3:30,
crosshairs.
right?
Yeah.
3:30, yeah.
okay.
I think there's still, I guess there's a chance Prefer, if Prefer's going to get fired, it's going to be between now and then, but I
Don't
assume
you think
it's
they
not
do
gonna
it at the
happen.
same time?
I think probably yes.
I would expect.
But I would still say until that press conference, there's a chance. But there's no chance Stefanski's getting fired.
I don't think
obviously.
so.
No.
Yeah, I think that ship has long sailed.
Yeah.
Busy show. We'll talk about the Browns' loss in the micro. We'll talk about their 7-10 finish in the macro. We'll take a global look at where this franchise is on January 9th, 2023. Is it better positioned than where it was a year ago, 2 years ago? Obviously, in pro sports, you want to arc this way. If you just look at the numbers, 8 or 7 wins from a year ago, what would they finish last year?
8-9.
8-9. It's down 1. Certainly not the direction you want to go in. So we'll recap all of that, put a bow on this season, look forward to the future for the Browns. Yeah. What is it? Also, the 2023 schedule, I've got to tell you, just without getting into detail now, because we'll go into that later, I think it's about as easy a schedule as I can remember.
Stop it.
We'll talk more about I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Listen, nothing's easy for the Browns.
When you look at the non-conference, the 6 non-conference games, there's 11 non-conference games. Very few of those teams are playoff teams. Non-division games.
Yeah.
Very few of those are playoff teams.
That's true.
So we'll dive into that. We'll talk about that. We'll grade the scale, 10 being the easiest you can get, 1 being the hardest you can get. Where does it rank? Tim Couch, his final appearance of this football season. We'll, of course, bring Tim back throughout the offseason as news warrants, and we'll keep him in the fold, but he's going to put his final bow on the 2022 season as well. Later, I haven't told you guys this, but it hit me on the way in today. I want to do something later in the show. Don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I want to call it the one-name blame game. Obviously, when a team loses or a team wins, there's a lot of credit to go around. There's a lot of blame to go around. This is kind of like No Fence Riders. I want to pin you guys down on one name for our blame game, okay? So you can think about that. We'll do that later.
Are you serious?
You're smiling ear to ear.
Are you serious?
By the way, Jay,
one name.
Let me start with this because there's something that really stands out to me. Do you guys remember when Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski came in 3 years ago? They used 3 words when they talked about their football team: smart, tough, accountable. Remember that?
You know what? That's a great point.
Is this team smart?
No.
Is this team tough?
No.
Is this team accountable?
They are not.
They're none of those things.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Bull, because I had forgotten that.
That's beautiful. That's
I know that plays into what you want to talk about today, but
it really
Bull,
is.
That's a great point.
They're none of those things.
It's a segue.
And they've had 3 years. Like, typically, you're not going to see the team that they think they're going to be in their image in 1 year or 2 years. But by NFL standards, if you haven't made a major corner turn in year 3, you're likely on your way out the door.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think everybody on this panel would agree that Kevin Stefanski is squarely in the hot seat for next season. If we don't see a big turnaround, he's gone.
No doubt. And if that doesn't, now we're all going to be rooting for them to turn it around and get off to a great start, and that nobody's getting fired. But if that doesn't happen, then next year's wasted too.
Let me ask you a question, because I can't take it no more. Really, If I was in any other market, would he still be working today?
No.
No, he would not be.
Now, you can't
That's not true.
discount
No, very
the
much
fact,
so.
though. See,
Very
here's
much
the
so.
thing. His arc has been reversed.
Yeah.
He started off with 11 wins, then he went to 8, now he's at 7. That's the wrong way. You
hold
want to
on,
go
hold on,
7,
hold on.
8, 11.
That COVID-11 is
Brad,
looking
Hold
real
on.
shaky.
Wait,
I'm going to use your own words
Yeah.
here. Smart,
No,
accountable,
No.
and tough.
no.
There you go.
You know what I
So by his
marveled
own
at?
words, he
His own
feels.
words.
The Bengals kept Marvin Lewis 15 years. He
That
never
don't
won
make it.
playoff
That don't
games.
make it right. I know.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right.
I tell you this.
How many times they go to the
tell you
playoffs?
A lot, but they never won.
I tell you what. In some place he wouldn't have made it. Chicago, they wouldn't have it. He'd be gone.
Yeah,
He'd be
no, there
gone.
are other.
Oh,
There
wait,
are
wait,
other
wait, wait, hold on, time out.
Yeah.
He'd be gone.
We can't say that the Browns, now, whether Kevin Stefanski should be fired or not is a fair debate. And I said yesterday to G, I'm done defending Stefanski. I can't defend him anymore.
Right.
If you want to fire him, I'm on board because
You're not advocating
I'm
it,
not
but you're not gonna
advocating,
argue
but I'm
against
like,
it.
I can't argue.
Sure.
However, the Browns have fired coaches more than any other team. To sort of make it seem like the Browns are slow to get to things doesn't make any sense because they've never been before.
This time they've seen.
No,
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. Here, when you're at the top of the food chain, Bull,
Yeah.
you have to make some decisions for the best of the organization.
Right.
Period, regardless of what
But the
you
guy at the top of the food chain's an idiot.
Of what you think. Now, all the symbols that are necessary, he has checked every box.
Yeah.
He's been given every chance, right? And sometimes you just have to cut bait and move on. You do, whether you want to or not. But all the facts that you are lining up have just occurred. And then for somebody to come back and say, out in the public and say this, well, give them, we'll see what happens in the next year. What?
I told him like this, man. I just want to let y'all know, just to be real with you, I got to get frank. If it don't happen next year, your top players won't be here anymore. I'm just letting you guys know.
Yeah, your window's closing.
No, your Myles Garrett's, your Nick Chubbs, all the guys you bought them jerseys for, they will not be here next year. So you rolled the dice this year. You got 4 to 6 games next year. And like Bull said, if you don't get it done in those 4 to 6 games, we are talking about a complete turnover again.
That's right.
And think about it. We sat through this, and this is the thing I want to emphasize.
Okay. We
sat through hell, 1-31, to accumulate these picks, to accumulate these draft statuses. We had no help on Sundays. You went to church, you came home, and even the good Lord couldn't help you or your Browns teams. You're wasting all those picks. Those picks turned out to be Baker Mayfield, no longer here. Those picks turned out to be Denzel Ward. I don't know if he's going to be good anymore. Those picks were Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. Guess what? We are on the doorstep of flipping that whole thing over again, and we talking about what we can get for people.
Making that 131 even more painful.
Well, here, you gotta lead this in it. You'll be stuck with Watson.
And Julie have Watson.
Well,
with no weapons.
Nobody be eating that.
The
Nobody be eating that.
The bottom line is, you could say whatever you want about the coach, about the rest of the roster. If Deshaun Watson, who, let's face it, in 6 games this year was not good. Now, we can make all the excuses. We can bring up all the reasons.
Talking about facts.
Some of them fair, some of them are not fair.
You're talking about facts.
The fact is, he didn't play well overall through 6
Facts.
games.
Nope.
If he's not back to a top 10, I'm not even asking top 5. I'd like him to be top 5 eventually. But if he's not back to a top 10 level quarterback next year, the Browns are completely screwed. No matter who the coach is, it doesn't matter.
They've given
because
up,
because they went all in on him, which we all. I'm not. You weren't totally in at first, but we were totally in. I'm still totally in. But if they got it wrong, they're screwed. They're screwed.
And that was why I wasn't all in.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought
said
you had no
there's
choice
always-
to be because Baker wasn't good enough.
Right, you had to move on. I think
Yes,
everybody was
right.
of that mindset. But the direction of which they went, if this thing doesn't get dramatically
Disaster.
better next year, it's sideways for another 5 seasons.
No
Let's
doubt.
do the Tri-C read because we're going to be
no
talking
doubt.
Browns throughout the show.
This whole show essentially is going to be sponsored by Cuyahoga Community College.
Man, get it right, man. Cuyahoga Community College. Cuyahoga Community College. Cuyahoga
Deshaun,
Community
listen.
College.
This is in honor of Deshaun Watson. Sometimes I'm really good at it, sometimes not so good. Next year, 2024, I'm going to be elite at saying Cuyahoga Community College.
There you go.
Tri-C supports their students financially, professionally, and personally, opening up the doors of endless possibilities. Tri-C brings us Browns talk every day. This Monday show is all Browns talk. Tri-C is where the future starts, and guess when it starts? Right now. Classes begin January 17th, 2023. Check out Tri-C for your post-secondary educational needs.
Jay, real quick.
Yeah.
So, boy, if we went all in last year, right? We were all in.
Yeah.
Don't you have to go all in right now?
What do you have, though? I mean,
Well, you have.
you're talking about changing.
You have to make all the moves necessary because you're in. Your feet, you already swimming.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're pivoting your
gotta
direction.
get back,
aren't
you got to get back to shore, though.
Do you mean you mean player-wise?
I mean everything.
Okay.
Everything's on the table.
Listen, yeah, everything should be on the table, but the ship has sailed on Stefanski. He's going to be here.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about him getting fired. But to your point, I agree. I think from the roster perspective, the Browns got to, even if it screws up their cap, even if they trade more picks, they've got to get all in. They've got to get Watson every weapon they can. They must get him another good wide receiver. They got to make sure that line's okay. And if that means doing something at left tackle, as hard as it may be, they got to get a front line nose tackle.
Have we heard anything on the Wills injury yet?
I don't know, but
I haven't seen any details.
That
on
line
it.
looked awful yesterday.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk about, well, they're not used to blocking for a scrambling quarterback. Not an excuse. It's just not. It's good to have a mobile quarterback. There were times that he moved the sticks, but there were times where he looked like he had cement feet and didn't feel pressure. And that's an issue moving forward. I want to make a point about the coach and his style. There's a lot of talk about where's the leadership from his position, and then from the standpoint that a team takes on the personality of its head coach, it looks like this team is passive, just like its head coach. And it hit me last night at about 8:30 when they interviewed Dan Campbell before the start of the game.
Yeah.
In that moment, not only did I fall even deeper in love with Dan Campbell, but I fell more out of love with Kevin Stefanski, and here's why. Obviously, they needed some help
to get in
from the Rams to beat Seattle, and then they controlled their own destiny. When Seattle won the game, they were out. And in the pregame interview, Dan Campbell was asked by Melissa Stark, Coach, you don't control your own destiny. What's your motivation? Without batting an eyelash, he said, he gave the badass answer. He gave the answer we want to hear. We don't want them to go.
Right. And it wasn't that they didn't control their destiny. They were out.
They were done.
They were done.
They were done.
He's like, but
Seattle
screw
had
those
to be
guys.
sitting there going, oh, my God. And you talked about this on Thursday of last week, how they got screwed.
Yeah, but it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Because Detroit still played.
Detroit is filled with a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
And they're coached by a lead dog. And when he said that, I kind of just, I thought to myself, they're going to win this game. They're going, somehow, some way, they're going to find a way to win this game. Now, he made some coaching decisions that he may not have made if his playoff life was still in the balance. It's easier to do that.
Yeah.
The quick pass and the pitch was a stroke of genius. I don't know if he calls that play if their playoff life depends on it. But the bottom line is, in that moment, I fell more in love with Dan Campbell and that tough dog mentality, and I fell out of love with our mentality, and here's why. Game 3 of the season with Jacoby Brissett as our quarterback, we beat the Steelers 29-17. A 12-point victory. Take Jacoby Brissett out. Now, Pittsburgh changed quarterbacks too, and they also got T.J. Watt back. But take Jacoby Brissett out and replace him with a guy that we thought was a top 5. And it's a 26-point swing in the outcome. The Browns lose by 14.
And it wasn't even that close.
And it wasn't even that close. And I just, as much as I want Stefanski to be the right guy, primarily because I have zero faith in Jimmy Haslam finding anyone better, as much as I want him to be the right guy, guys, he's not. He's not.
At the very least, it's fair to question that whether he is or not. At the very least. It's hard to have faith in him right now.
He can't change his stripes. He can't change his mentality and suddenly become Dan Campbell and be a badass.
But I don't know, Jay. I don't know that I agree. Like, at the moment, it feels like you have to have that rah-rah coach. But in the end, the Lions didn't make the playoffs either.
I know, but the Lions, they didn't. But they came out and played like their playoff life was at stake. And to me, it said those players are bought in to Dan Campbell. And the Browns went out there and all looked like a bunch of duds.
Well, I don't think it's a rah-rah coach that you're looking for. You're looking for guys with some swagger that come in here and command his environment. He doesn't do that. And it's irritating to me. And I'm not even a football player. I can only imagine how the people in the locker room are irritated.
I don't even like wearing my colors like that, bro, because he don't represent me. He don't represent what football is about. Football is about passion. Football is about going and get it. Football is about being hungry. And I think, Mikey McNuggets, you hungry?
I can always have a Built Bar.
Okay, it is.
All right, so go back to this. Go back to this.
So
I have a Built Bar read. I'm not sure if you were setting me up.
Well, I was saying, but you missed it. You missed it. I'm back on it.
Throw me the line.
You should have done the Built Bar read right there.
Throw me the line.
Set you up.
So he didn't even know we were. This is the first Monday Built Bar read in
set
7
you up
weeks.
and
How
you
did he know we
fumbled.
had a Built Bar read?
You're supposed to do a back cut. You missed it, so he's going to throw me a line. Throw me a line.
Hey, I'm going to get into the post to the big fella.
Hey, G. Bush, I'm a shooter. I'm not an alley-oop man.
So
you go an alley-oop, you're going to be disappointed. That's a brag category.
So here's the deal. Because I started thinking about it this week, yesterday. Because I'm sitting here, and this will tell you how, I love it. Everybody know I love the Browns, right? Hell, I could change my TV. I'm going to watch Ohio State women basketball versus Illinois women basketball and put the Browns on the phone.
Wow, they got small screen status.
You downgraded them
Sit
to
right here.
flip phone.
SSS, small screen status.
That's what I did. I was like, no, because here, I was thinking about Clowney and everybody else along the way, and I said, you know what? They're like kids. They're acting out. They're acting out because they're not getting supervision.
Beautiful.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
They're all acting out.
Hey, Brad, it's like going to the parent-teacher conference.
Yes.
And you get to the parent-teacher conferences, and your parents, they ain't sat at a living room table in years. Now all of a sudden they wearing matching clothes going to talk to your teachers. They get in there and say, Garrett is really a smart, intelligent man, but something is really not clicking with him. He doesn't have that same look in his eye. He's not as really engaged. Do you guys know anything happening? And they turn around and they say, I don't know what's going on with Garrett. We get in the car, they looking at you like, why would you embarrass us like that? Why would you? And you turn around and look at them. What do you mean, embarrass you? Why are you embarrassing me in the store? Y'all don't like each other. You ain't doing it for the kids. We know you don't like each other. Dad, we know you be drinking a lot. And Mom, you take a lot of late phone calls at night with the mailman. So what are you telling me?
Are you airing familial dirty laundry?
That was a scheme. Like, that was like, did that happen?
Okay, that is a writer's embellishment. These are not actual events.
These are not actual events. But when you look at, I'm going to go to school with a problem because you sitting here acting like we some peachy keen family, like the Browns acting like, and every single kid that come out of here, the Beckham Jr. wasn't happy. We don't even know what happened with Kareem Hunt. We don't know. Baker was unhappy. Javian Clowney's unhappy. Myles Garrett was like, you know what, I'm going to just lie. I'm going to just lie. Just here, I like you guys. We got to fix it. Man, telltale signs is there, Brad.
But guys, here's the bottom line.
We've
been through this before. We've had these debates already. He's not going anywhere.
But here's what you can fix, though.
Yeah.
I'd like to strip him. Pause.
Well, that's a little inappropriate.
I like to
embarrassment.
Super pause. I'd like to strip him of his play calling ability.
I'm for that.
If you're gonna come back, the only way he's coming back, that's fine, because he needs to work on some of those things, those communication skills, talking to people, figuring out everything. No, you're not going to be buried in the sheet
I'm going
next
to take
year.
you further. This has happened before. In Ann Arbor, it happened. When Harbaugh, they said, you will come back here? We're stripping you down. All your people, they gone. You're going to bring some other people up in here.
They did leave him by himself.
We're going to give you one more shot at this thing.
Yeah.
But it's going to be under
Bull,
our,
are you okay with that?
under
Because
our terms.
I got to tell you, G, it seems like, so what are the duties of a head coach? The first and foremost, he's the CEO of 53 guys.
Yeah.
We've tended to look at him as the offensive coordinator when we've got Alex Van Pelt, who's not in that role. And I know that you've made the point that a lot of young coaches call their plays. However, I don't think he's properly checked the boxes of the other duties of being a head coach.
No.
So I think that's a good ask. If it's not Alex Van Pelt, fire him and find someone else.
That's right.
You'll have input on the offensive game plan. You'll have veto, which a lot of head coaches do.
Yeah. Final say.
Final say. If you don't want to run this on a 4th and 1, you make that call.
I'm fine if they do that. I'm actually okay if they don't. I know I'm in the minority opinion there. I think most importantly is finding the right defensive coordinator. Because if your head coach is not going to be that rah-rah, badass guy, well, you need the defensive coordinator to be.
I
Because
agree
the
with
defensive
that, yeah.
coordinator on this team
Greg Williams
is the head
type.
coach of the defense.
Okay.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
That's what he is. We may not like it that
Yeah.
way, but that's the way it's going to be.
So did you hear during the game on my small phone? Did you hear
Small
what
phone.
the guy was saying on the small phone? He said the one announcer was talking about Chubb, right? He said he's your best weapon, and you don't even utilize him.
They were completely confounded with how they were not using
Yes.
Nick Chubb.
They were like, "This is
2 weeks in a row.
Like, this is unbelievable."
You know what I'm wondering? I think, Bull, it might have been you that made this point. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Might have been Tyvis. Somebody made the point last week that perhaps the reason they threw so much in the Saints game when it was freezing cold and windy is because they wanted a sample size to see how Deshaun Watson throws the ball in cold and windy. Okay. So if that's the case, these last 3 games were nothing but an experiment.
I agree with that.
And
I agree.
the problem with that, I know you know what Nick Chubb can do, and you want to see what we can be like as a more pass-heavy offense. His numbers were not good. Even in Pittsburgh, where it was sunny day and the conditions were fine, when
was
you look
lousy.
at his numbers overall, Watson didn't impress me. His overall line was, again, he threw for 2 interceptions, which you just can't have. One of them was, I don't know what in the world he was thinking. It was a bad
I think they
decision
were
and a
both
bad
bad-
throw.
Both were
They were
terrible.
both bad
Both were
decisions.
inexcusable.
The one
The
was
first one was the worst.
yeah, it was awful, absolutely awful. But I just, as I'm watching him and I'm watching this offense, he was 19 of 29 for 230, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now, if this was truly an experiment to see what we have, and the rust is gone, 6 weeks in, he's closer to the guy he's ever going to be now than he was when he came back.
I don't think so.
So I'm looking at these numbers going, no, that's not going to do it. That's not going to get it done. For the season, and it's only 6 games, I understand that, but his QBR was 79.1.
Yeah.
7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, he didn't play well.
No.
If he doesn't play better next year, they're screwed no matter who the coach
So-
is. It doesn't matter. I think you guys all season have overplayed the non-use of Nick Chubb when he's 3rd in the league in rushing attempts, but whatever. We've had that debate.
That wasn't me. I'm not a football
What do you have
guy.
yesterday,
I
12?
said you had an actual football.
12 carries,
You had an
77
actual
yards.
12 for
football guy.
77.
You had an actual football guy making his commentary yesterday. That was a football guy.
I've already.
Yes, I would agree. In yesterday's game, he should have gotten the ball.
I've talked about it, man. Sometimes there's a lot of people in life that view themselves as this, but the reality is over here. The reality is everybody else sees you as this. The reality is he wants to be a quarterback whisperer so bad. He wants to be the whisperer he want to get invited to that off-season passing academy where he's sitting up there with Andy Reid and they going over concepts on the whiteboard, drinking wine. He don't understand. He's not going to get invited to that big
But what do
day
you
out
want
here.
to do? They're going to be a passing team. You've got Deshaun Watson for a reason.
This is a crazy thing.
Yeah.
If they want to get to that, he's going to have to understand what he is and what he ain't, and he's going to have to get a reins to somebody else. He doesn't have the personnel or the mind to be a passing. Look, just go and look at it. When you watch these other games, watch the motion, watch people get schemed open, watch the different route combinations, watch the play calling and how they set up certain plays and routes wide open. And even when you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, go back and watch. 3rd and long, multiple times. 3rd and 17, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. They picked all. We don't even got routes at 17 yards. When we 3rd and 2, we sitting down talking about Kareem Hunt checking down, sitting. I said, why everybody sitting down? Everybody, we ain't even at the sticks. He does not have the requisite ability to be a passing team. So if he wants to be that, I don't disrespect it. But he's going to have to move along. And
He's going to have to show he can adjust, right? He now has, we hope, a great quarterback for the first time in his career. He has to adjust to that player, and he has to change the offense accordingly.
So
He didn't do it midseason this year.
No.
Could he have? I don't know. Maybe he should have. But he didn't.
Here, give me a close up on this one, Mikey. Steve, give me a close up here. I want you to get my face on this one.
We're about to make a point.
Look. Now we're talking about the quarterbacking. Mm-hmm. This is to my man Deshaun Watson. I'm excited that you're here, right? But bro, Here, and I ain't no hater, dude.
I ain't either.
You gonna have to get back in the laboratory here.
With a
Right?
pen and a
You
pad.
ain't no different than the NBA ball player when it come off a bad season like Magic did that one year. You got to get back in the grind, in the barn where nobody sees you, and you got to put that work in. Because you looking like,
We can't put the cape on you, dog.
Like Donovan Mitchell did this offseason. with the
you got to
conditioning.
come back, bro. Because I'm gonna just tell you what we saw around here.
You and Stefanski better
Ooh.
be. Y'all better get tight. Y'all, I don't care if y'all got a bunk bed together or whatever it's gonna be. Y'all should be. Matter of fact, tell the family this ain't one of them years like it's a recession. We're not gonna be able to go on vacation this year.
Boy, you had on orange like you was in Clemson, but you was in tangerine country. I don't know what you had on.
We
today, buddy.
we need to see you in Cleveland all year. I'm talking.
We're gonna see you at the Rib Fest. We're gonna see you at the fireworks.
the car show.
The car show.
I need you at everything.
He should change the zip code to
We
Bree.
got some stuff from Adam Schefter here. Let me read this. Have you got this tweet, Mike?
We do. Let's get that tag board, though.
The Cleveland
and we got Tim
Browns-
Couch in a sec. After Tim Couch, we're going to do all the Browns defensive coordinator possibilities.
Okay.
This is the first on the list that is now official from Adam Schefter.
Adam
Take tag
Schefter,
board
the
full
Cleveland
here.
Browns, who relieved defensive coordinator Joe Woods of his duties, requested permission today to interview Patriots inside linebacker coach Gerard Mayo for their defensive coordinator job, per source. Obviously, Mayo was a great player.
Yeah.
He's not been a coordinator. He's been part of the Patriots tree.
Anybody have an initial thought on that? Because I have a
I do.
strong
Well,
initial thought.
I never discredit anybody from being able to step in and do a job, but I would just tell you this here. You went all in on the QB. We just talked about it, right? You got to take every step possible to make sure you get the best of the best to give yourself the best opportunity for the best outcome, right?
Yeah.
Stop running and grabbing to the first thing you see, the latest, greatest toy on the shelf. Let's see what's actually out here.
Right. I would say avoid like the plague any Bill Belichick assistant coaches.
Yes.
Period.
Well,
full stop.
I don't agree with that.
Start ripping off the success.
Well, no.
I'm not
I said,
doing it.
We're not talking about head coach.
No.
Any coach.
Period.
Any of them.
And here's why.
Yeah.
The secret sauce in New England was never about any of the assistant coaches. It's always been about Bill. Always.
Bill and the quarterback.
Bill and the quarterback.
So you'd be against Flores as DC?
I would.
I take
I
Flores.
just look at the guys that have left New England, and I know
Yeah.
that most of them went to become head coaches.
Right.
They have been not just failures; they have been colossal failures.
Flores wasn't a colossal failure.
He's a failure.
He had a winning record both years.
I would take Flores because
I mean,
he's a D
he
coordinator.
had a winning
He's
record both years.
aggressive.
The Dolphins' defense before he got there was trash.
Aggressive.
It's back to being trash again this year.
Aggressive.
First of all, do you think he would come to Cleveland?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I would not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that.
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure
I
he
don't
would.
know.
I think he's going to be in such high demand that he'll be able to pick his spot.
I don't know that he
think
will
he
be.
picks Cleveland.
Why would
He better be.
Why would you leave Cleveland unless he's already has? The Steelers gave him shelter, right? They gave
But he's
him
not
shelter.
a defensive
But
coordinator.
I will say,
they gave
it'd be
him-
a step up
they
to
gave
go
him-
from where he
they
is
gave
to
him
here.
shelter, so he's only leaving for shelter.
Yeah, like
right?
Mike
now you
Tomlin-
going into a season with Stefanski on a 1 year hook, maybe?
Yeah.
Ain't coming over
Yeah, but he
here.
might be able to get a head coaching job if he. if
Brad makes a good
if I-
point.
makes a good- that's a good point.
There are a lot of folks that believe that when a coach is in his purgatory year, that you can call it whatever it want.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to keep his job. This for Kevin Stefanski is his purgatory year.
Here,
period.
you add this-
and it's tougher to get quality coordinators to come on board
I'm gonna add
unless they think they've got a chance at replacing
Well,
Stefanski.
with
I'm
Flores
gonna
would.
add a
Maybe.
piece to that, right? People might not want to hear this. For a minority coach
Yeah.
who gets very limited opportunity,
Yeah.
he not jumping ship to those ship that might
Yeah.
sink on him.
Because he
I just stay where I am.
Because he get that Hugh Jackson. If they Hugh Jackson you that back down to HBCU.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get a regular job.
With a Maybach.
Like he had that, he down
He's taking a picture with a Maybach.
like you said, like yeah, you down there like he couldn't get a Division I. I'm like you can at least with the Mount Union.
We're going to talk much more about who the Browns might turn to replace
he jumping
the fired Joe Woods as defensive coordinator. By the way, before we bring in Tim Couch, one quick stat on Joe Woods. I read it this morning. The numbers are a little vague. I didn't burn them into my mind. I believe that in the first quarter, the Browns defense is 4th or 5th in the league in points allowed.
Maybe 5th or 6th.
They are 27th in the fourth quarter.
3rd and 4th.
3rd and 4th, and I think they're 18th in the second quarter. There you go. Now, those aren't the rankings,
That's points scored.
Points scored.
Points allowed.
Right. So
Look at that.
Your hamstrings
guys,
is tight.
this says one thing.
Yeah.
They're making 0 adjustments. They're losing the battle of adjustments. So the offense
quarter.
is seeing what they did in the first quarter, which was very successful, and their offensive coordinator is making adjustments. And so you can see as the game goes on, what happens is they're losing that battle of making adjustments.
Yes.
And so if I was on the fence about Joe Woods, and I was not, but if I was, that is all I needed to do to push me over the top.
This is where the head coach should be overseeing what's going on.
And he's not because he's too busy micromanaging the offense.
With a sheet in his hand. If
Yes.
I see that
Coach,
sheet one more time.
We're doing the same stuff we were doing in the first quarter, and it's not working now because their offense has made adjustments. Where are your adjustments?
We're down 14 yesterday. That's all they see.
And those are the things, to G. Bush's point, if he wasn't so immersed in calling the offense. And by the way, I know the head coaches that do call the offense. To me, here's the picture of Kevin Stefanski that I've seen all season long.
That's it. That's it.
He's buried in that play sheet.
He's never even.
And I know that all the coaches have them, but my God.
I'm gonna ask Tim about this.
His seems particularly large.
When is it time?
And he seems particularly.
There he goes.
And he's particularly immersed in it.
Hey, Tim.
Tim, at what point in time does a coach have to say, hey, I need to at least say hi to my team and assistants, and not be all. He has that Willy Wonka thing. You come in, Stefanski is like, are you good? He's like, I've been here doing my plays. I saved the day, sir. Can we go over some special teams, Coach? No. You took my God stoppers. Tim, when is he going to give up the play calling, or when should it be something that you say, it's time for you to be a CEO and not so micromanaging on the offense?
He ain't micromanaging. He ain't even macromanaging.
Yeah, I would say it's probably time right now. I don't know if he's going to do it, though. I mean, he is this offense is his baby. Like you guys said, he's got that play sheet. He's holding on to that thing like a security blanket. I don't see him giving up any play calling duties anytime
I'd like to get a hold of that and have a ceremonial burning of the play sheet.
He holding on to the play sheet like Auburn holding on to Bo Jackson.
It's so maddening. And Tim, I know all coaches have them, but I can't remember a cutaway this year of Kevin Stefanski that I didn't see the play sheet. It was just front and center all season long. It drove me nuts.
Yeah, every time, Jay. Like you said, same exact look, same exact expression on his face. No matter what was going on throughout the game, whether we're winning, we're losing, we just turned the ball over. Whatever it was, it's the play sheet. Right. All the answers are on the play sheet, I guess. Right?
Tim, would that drive you crazy? I mean, as a player, and does it? But if you take Stefanski's play calling away, what's the point of keeping him?
He's the head coach.
Right, exactly.
But is
That's
he
who
a
he
good
is.
head
That's what you
coach? I
brought
don't
him here
know.
for.
Is he the right coach?
I think he gets one more year, a full year with Deshaun. I think the guy took him to the playoffs a couple of years ago. Obviously, the last 2 years have been down years, losing seasons. But you bring in a guy like Deshaun Watson, you pay him all this money, and you bring him in to pair him with Stefanski. So you want to see what they can do with a full season together and this offense, see if they can make it go, and then we'll know a lot more about what's going on and how this is going to work after next season.
Hey, Tim, that's you from Kentucky. Hold on, y'all done run more people out of Kentucky coaching than anybody can think of.
Yeah, but one of them's coming home. One of them's leaving an NFL job to go back to Kentucky.
Kentucky people don't play. They like, you out of here.
Right. We'll get rid of him pretty quick around here.
Right.
Tim, what's going on with Deshaun Watson?
Yeah,
I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned from a quarterback standpoint. What you seeing?
I think the same thing you guys are. I really didn't expect a whole lot from him coming into this season because of the 2 years off and playing in a new system. But, he just has kind of looked so inconsistent. It's really kind of disappointing. He's been such a great player the first few years of his career in Houston. But this year it's just, you see a few flashes here and there throughout games like, oh, that looks like Deshaun Watson that I'm used to seeing. And then it's, just inconsistent. Accuracy is very inconsistent. Decision-making, he's holding on to the ball way too long, in my opinion. When Jacoby was in there, Jacoby was getting rid of the football really quickly. And he was getting it to the right spot. But Deshaun, he's just not trusting what he's seeing. He's holding on to the ball in the pocket. way too long, trying to let things develop, and it's just not clicking right now. So hopefully with a full off season, a full preseason games, a schedule he can play in, and then getting started week 1. Hopefully he can, get this thing going to where he looks like the old Deshaun Watson. If not, man, this thing is going to go bad real quick because, you pay a guy $230 million or whatever it was, you expect him to come in and be one of the better quarterbacks in the league. You're expecting the top 3 or 4 quarterback in the entire league. And right now, we certainly haven't seen that.
Hey, Tim, here's a question. I just thought about when you said that. You think, all right, we knew he was going to be rusty. We did not know it was going to be this much rust, but we knew there was a chance to be rusty. The one thing that we're talking about all physical attributes here, right? What about the psychological attributes of going through that?
Yeah.
Could he be damaged from that, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a great point, Brad. I think, we don't talk about that enough. This guy, he's always been used to being talked about how great he is, how great of a player he is. And all of a sudden, your name is drugged through the mud and they're talking about what an awful person you are. Every stadium he goes in, he gets booed unmercifully. People are just, they can't stand him. Anytime he goes on the road, I can't imagine what those fans are saying to him when he's coming, out of the tunnels and on the sidelines and things like that. I'm sure he just gets harassed nonstop by the opposing team's fans. So certainly that will take a toll on you mentally. I don't know how he gets through that. Hopefully he's got some type of counseling going on where he's seeing somebody and talking through things, because that will beat you down mentally. Absolutely, and that's that's something he's going to have to deal with the rest of his career.
To that point, we've talked about Carson Wentz last week. Carson Wentz was a guy very much like Deshaun Watson, who was poised on that doorstep of his next step in his evolution, you thought, was going to be an NFL MVP. And Carson Wentz was right there. I think you could make a case Deshaun Watson was very close to making that move. And since we've seen Carson Wentz come completely unglued, he's failed in 2 cities post-Philadelphia. And a lot of people are now wondering, is his career over? And that's the cautionary tale of what can happen to a quarterback when this muscle gets screwed up. And Brad, to your point, and Tim, yours, I don't know how you figure out if that's the problem, but if it is, can it be fixed? Did you ever get into ruts mentally that, like a golfer with the yips, you were able to work out of?
Absolutely. I think it's a great point, Jay. The great example with Carson Wentz there. I certainly went through that as a player myself. I was obviously taking a physical beating when I was with that expansion team Browns, getting sacked a lot, getting hit a lot, but it took a toll on me mentally more than it did physically, because at the high school level, I was used to having nothing but success. I was the National Player of the Year in high school. I was a first-team All-American in college, SEC Player of the Year, #1 pick in the draft. I'd never really dealt with failure. And, so I just thought I would go into the NFL and pick up right where I'd, been at every other level I played in. And when that's not happening for you, it beats you to death mentally. The fans, they have expectations from you. Your own teammates have expectations. Obviously, you're #1 pick in the draft. They're paying you a lot of money. And you start really questioning yourself, can I play at this level? Can I do this? Why am I not having the success that I'm used to having? And that's a hard thing to work through. And, really the only way to get through that, I think, is, you just grind. You start believing in you just have to have that ultimate belief in yourself that no matter what everybody on the outside is saying, that they're not going to get into you, into your mind and break you down mentally. You just have to work through it. And it's way easier said than done, but certainly I know exactly what that feels like.
I think it's a little different than Wentz, because Wentz was so-so as a rookie, and then his second year he was great, and then he got hurt, and that was it. Whereas Watson was excellent for the 4 years he was in the league. Well, that half a season and 3 years. But to both your points, you're right. If it's a mental thing, which it seems like it is with Carson Wentz, right? He seems mentally shattered. If that is the case with Watson, even if he was much better than Wentz beforehand, you just never know how a guy's going to react going forward. That's the one thing that I certainly really didn't think about with him when the Browns made this trade.
Yeah, I'm gonna emphasize that the Browns, as much as you put on the physical rehab,
let's work on the mind.
You got to work on the psychological rehab that needs to occur. And he trust and believe me, Deshaun Watson not going to be able to do this by himself.
But we have said many times before, Tim, you've heard this a million times, it's a make or break season. Next year is the biggest make or break season that the Browns have had in forever, for their coach and for their quarterback. Because if
they've never been this all in.
Right. Because if the coach sucks, he's fired. And if Watson's not good next year, the Browns are completely screwed for the next 5 years.
I feel he got to get back to, when you go through allegations and when you go through things like that, people tend to strip away what makes you a great athlete. Mm-hmm. A great athlete is saying that I'm better than everybody.
You're confident.
I'm cocky.
Yeah.
I'm arrogant.
Right.
You can't touch what I'm talking about out here. I see him in the press conference. He be looking for nice words to say.
To your point, to your point, did you guys hear what Joe Burrow said after the game yesterday?
Yeah, and I loved it.
Joe Burrow said, they were talking about how big is the Bengals window. Remember we've talked about this window before? He goes, as long as I'm playing.
As long as I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we need Watson to be talking like that. He's got to get back to that.
If he can get back there, but there is a psychological component with that.
See, you just said that. See, that talks about your confidence level.
Yeah.
Because when you looking like trash, you ain't going to no podium talking about
that's right.
as long as I'm
You know,
here.
I thought Deshaun, just his body language, he looks like a beaten down man.
Yeah.
When he's standing at the podium, he doesn't stand there tall and proud. He just, and why would he right now? He's 3-3 and the Browns finished 7-10. But to me, with the volume down, just looking at him, if I was asked to characterize his mental state, I would say not very good. Yeah. He looks like he's been run over by a truck.
It looked like he's always aware or thinking that somebody's coming for him. You see what I'm saying? So you're always on the defensive. Right.
Tim, do you get it back in a sports psychologist's office, or does that only come back on the field between the lines when you start having more success?
Yeah, well, I think it does start in a sports psychologist's office. I think you have to find those tools to be able to block out the noise and find that belief in yourself that you once had. So I think it starts there, and then you take it out on the field. And certainly Deshaun's going to have to start having some success, to feel like himself again. He's going to have to go out and start having those 350-yard, 4-touchdown performances that we saw him have.
You're right, Tim.
All those years to feel like that's who he is again. Because right now, he's got a bad taste in his mouth going into this offseason. Hopefully, that's going to motivate him to work even harder. Like you guys mentioned, just get in there with Stefanski and learn this offense as well as he possibly can, and try to take this thing to another level. Because if he gets off to a really bad start next year, after the first 4 or 5 games, he's struggling like he did after what we saw, like we saw him struggle this season. That confidence is going to tank really quickly. So hopefully, for Deshaun, he finds a way to cope with all that, and he can get back to being the player that we've thought he could play at.
Well, this is a marriage, Tim. It's incumbent upon the Browns as well to get out of the ethos and find somebody that could be helpful. Mm-hmm. And they may not be here in Cleveland. The Browns, they have to marry the two together.
Well, they have a team's sports psychologist.
No, but I'm saying that person may not be the person.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
This situation might be so dire.
This thing is, because he looks like a shell of himself.
Right.
You see a glimpse of him, and then you see something and the guy I saw, like that pass he made yesterday. I'm like, there's 3 people standing here. There's no way you thought you could thread that through there. Right? I'm like, but if you're all screwed up, it's like your free throw. If you're all screwed up, somebody better unscrew it.
When you try, Tim, you know this. When you're trying to make plays, like it seems like he feel like if I throw this one pass, it's going to eliminate everything. Like you can't eliminate talk with one pass. It got to be consistent.
Body of work.
It's like trying to hit a 6-run home run.
You're exactly right.
He's trying. Every play he's trying to justify the contract, trying to justify all the time he missed, trying to show he's a great player. You can't make it up in one play.
No, it's slow and steady wins the race on that.
Great point.
Tim, did they get Joe Woods right, letting him go?
Yeah, I think so. You guys have hit it perfectly. I think it's just too much inconsistency. The way they started out the season, they lost a lot of games because of that defense that they probably would have had an opportunity to make a playoff run this year had the defense been a little better. And it was simple things. We're talking about fundamentals of defense. We're talking about communication on the back end. We're talking about pursuit angles and tackling, just basic fundamentals of football that this team was not doing early on. Now, certainly they improved over the last, 6-7 games of the year. They got better, but I think, the writing was already on the wall for Joe, and I think it probably was time to move on and get somebody else in here, a new kind of a new life into this defense, because they're a really talented defense. Obviously, they need some pieces on that defensive line to add there to, help against the run game. But there's some really talented players that you can do a lot of things with on that defense. So hopefully they get the right guy for these players.
Kevin Stefanski in a statement said that he thanked Joe for his hard work and his dedication. He certainly wishes him the best. But clearly it was time to move on. A couple of numbers here that jumped out at me. The Browns defense against the pass was ranked 5th in the NFL this year. Now, on one hand, you're like, well, okay, that's pretty impressive. Well, on the other hand, they were 25th against the run, and there were a lot of games where teams may have wanted to throw the ball more, but they quickly decided, Atlanta, why would we throw it when our quarterback's throwing to the wrong jerseys and we've got fourth-string running backs gashing this defense?
Not to mention, Jay, the Browns didn't face that much of a issue of quarterbacks this year.
They really did not. When you look back at the teams that they had a chance to beat to get into the playoffs and failed, it's quite an indictment. We're going to later,
do you want the list
Tim,
real quick, guys? Do you want the list
of
quarterbacks they beat and lost to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you got it.
Yeah, I got it right here. They beat this year. You ready?
Yep.
Baker Mayfield, Mitch Trubisky, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Kyle Allen, Tyler Huntley, and Carson Wentz.
To be two good quarterbacks, Burrow and Brady.
And they lost to Joe Flacco, Marcus Mariota, Justin Herbert, Bailey Zappi, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Andy Dalton, and Kenny Pickett.
So they played.
That's a mixed bag.
If I include Tua, they played 7 good quarterbacks in 17 games.
Yeah, and that should be a recipe for making the playoffs.
Yes.
Tim, later in the program, we're going to play a game called One Name Blame Game. Here's the way it works. Obviously, there's enough blame to be spread all around, and it's a team sport. You win as a team, you lose as a team. But in the One Name Blame Game, you have to just name one guy most responsible for what we saw on the field this year. Who's your name?
Man, I guess you got to go with Stefanski. He's in charge of this deal. So I think you start there, and it's hard to point the finger anywhere else. So it always starts at the leadership at the top. So I'd have to go there.
Yeah, well, that's a strong answer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there will be others that name Kevin Stefanski in the One Name Blame Game. Before we let you go, and first of all, I want to thank you. What an enormous help you have been to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show during this Browns season. We needed that voice of reason, that voice of expert at the quarterback position. We were blessed to have you throughout the year on our inaugural season, and you're a big part of this thing, the reason this thing has been so successful. We're going to use you, obviously, during football season as it comes forward, but also periodically as news and developments warrant. We'll also bring you back. But before we let you go, McNuggets has something that he is dying to ask you about. And I quite frankly, I can't wait to get your answer.
Oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, Tim. So we're going to break a record for most viewers in a single show today. So thank you to everyone out there for watching. And Tim, as of this moment right now, you're officially a brand ambassador for Built Bars because you know that protein intake is important to gain muscle. And with 15 grams of protein in every Built Bar, you eat a couple of those a day, you're going to be absolutely jacked.
What would you look like if you had a couple a day?
15 for 15% off. If I ate 20 Built Bars a day, I might look like this. Steve, take tag board. If y'all haven't seen, this is a Photoshop picture of Tim after 38 Built Bars a day for 46 years. But Tim, I think you actually corrected. You're only 45. Didn't Matt Jones get this wrong?
Yeah, he got it wrong. I'm only 45, man. He's got 38 year on.
Tim, most people want an 8-pack. Tim's got a 16-pack.
Tim, you're killing me here.
That's crazy.
How much time a day do you spend in the gym to look like that?
It's a couple hours a day, but I've been doing this for 20-some years. I haven't missed a workout since I was in college. I still do the same stuff I used to do. And the only difference is now my body really than it was when I was playing is I eat better. When I was playing, I really didn't focus on diet. I was eating Hooters chicken wings and drinking beer every damn day.
Well, how much oil did you put on yourself,
working
son?
out a lot. Now I just dial in the diet and cardio and kind of got things figured out.
Hey, Tim, how much oil did you put on yourself, son?
Hey, that's hard sweat right there.
Hey, you know what happened? I was in my sauna. So I posted that was on my story. So right before that, I posted a picture. I was in my sauna and it was 200 degrees in there, and I was just sweating it out. So when I came out of the sauna, that's when I took the picture. So that's why I looked oiled.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, son.
He's in better shape than when he played.
If he walked into the Browns locker room right now, everybody but Myles Garrett would look at him and say, who in the hell is this?
It's okay. I got something for you, Tim. I'm going to call Barry Bonds up.
Hey, Tim, before you go real quick, here's a question.
Can you still fit your old football helmet?
Oh, yeah. Before you go real quick, here's a question. Tim, you know the Browns locker room.
Yeah.
And you know that we are now looking for a defensive coordinator. Now, sometimes you see defensive coordinators have huge personalities out here. Buddy Ryan, people of that like that type
Greg
of
Williams.
person. Right.
Yeah.
Could that person coexist with Stefanski?
I think so. I think, with Stefanski, as hands-off as he seems with the defense, I think you do need that kind of coach on that side of the ball who's just going to take total control of these guys and just kind of be that coach on that side of the ball, and Stefanski will handle the offense. So I think that kind of coach would be a really good fit for these guys, and I think it kind of, with these guys, we saw the lack of discipline that they had, a lot during this season, the inconsistency. So a coach like that, getting these guys in gear, getting them all going in the right direction, and focusing on the fundamentals, I think is the kind of coach you're looking for.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Great. Tim, man,
All right,
awesome
appreciate you
job
guys.
this year.
Appreciate you, man.
We expect you to be about 3 pounds lighter, but with more muscle next fall when you join us for the 2023 season.
I'll work on that.
There you go. Thanks, Tim.
Tim
Tim.
Couch,
Appreciate you guys.
not just a great football player and overall athlete, but just a great person.
That he is.
We've enjoyed having his insight throughout the football season, and we look forward to him joining us again next season.
By the way, I saw this tweet. So some of the players are speaking now. Greg Newsome was talking. Joel Bitonio.
Let it out. It's not your fault.
Speak. It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
John Johnson. Listen to this comment from John Johnson.
There you go.
I'm reading Hayden Grove's tweet.
Okay.
John Johnson said that in his exit interviews, his biggest thing was that the entire building needs a sense of urgency. Felt that was lacking. Said he hopes a new coordinator will help bring a spark.
That speaks to exactly what we've been talking about
Yes.
all year that we thought we were seeing with our eyes. There's just no leadership at the top. There's no fire in there.
The problem is, if you're going to have a head coach who's a chill head coach, then you got to have a defensive coordinator
Good cop, bad cop.
who's like a crazy guy. You got to have one or the other.
Do you have a name for us?
I like
I got
Brian
10
Flores.
names.
I know you're anti-patriot guy, and I am too. But I'm only anti-patriot guy for head coaches, not for coordinators.
And you know what? I would not be against Flores.
Yeah.
I
Now-
know my knee-jerk reaction was yes,
Right.
but because of the success he had in Miami, because of his unceremonious dumping,
Right.
I think we might be onto something with Flores. Now, where are you guys?
Listen, I would take Flores today if they're going to have him, but he's going to be highly sought after.
I think he will.
He's one of the names that people going to
Yeah.
want to get out there. Now, I got some names. I like this Avero guy. He's the defense.
Denver?
He led Denver.
And for anyone who doesn't know,
I had no
G.
clue
Bush,
who he was.
I'm with him. This is his first year as a defensive coordinator. Broncos' defense was phenomenal this year. Their offense was abysmal. That's
Well,
the
he
reason
wasn't
they
the
were so
DC,
bad.
though.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
Oh, he's the DC?
Yeah,
DC,
first
yes.
year.
So how can he go
First-
to the Browns? Oh, because coach got fired.
First
Hackett
in
got fired.
points allowed, second in yards, and second in EPA.
And that's with getting no help from the
He
defense.
couldn't
And
get
they
the head
traded
coach
Bradley
job there
Chubb
because
mid-season.
I don't think Peyton's going to take that job. I don't. If I'm Sean Payton, I'm not going anywhere
No.
near that job.
Unless you're convinced you can turn around Russell Wilson.
And I didn't see
I
anything.
doubt that.
What I like about what he said, McVay said he's incredibly smart, intelligent, great disposition, great demeanor. He knows how to connect with all types of guys, knows how to be able to help them reach their highest potential. He's an absolute stud.
You know, you guys kind of rolled your eyes at Quentin Mayo a little bit, but Gerard Mayo,
Yeah.
not Quentin Mayo.
High
But
energy.
a lot of people are
High
like,
on him.
he was really the defensive coordinator for the Patriots this year. Just Belichick didn't give him the title because Belichick does all this weird stuff.
Well, I thought Steve was his defensive coordinator.
Well, I guess they did it together.
and here's the thing I've learned through the
Yeah.
years. I don't care who is called the DC. Bill's
Right.
the DC.
That's true. That's fair. But a lot of people like that I respect, football guys are all saying they think he's an up and coming great.
Yeah,
young
but
coach.
I can go back and pull quotes from you.
Of course, sure.
That will tell you all about all
Every
of these
Patriot guy.
coordinators that went on to fail miserably.
Yes.
His coaching tree is bare. There's no bark on the
No, there's
tree.
nothing.
There's no fruit. There's no leaves. There's nothing.
What
It's
about
a bunch
Lovie
of
Smith?
sticks.
Ooh.
I mean, okay, if you want to judge his entire career, fail.
No.
He
What
did have-
about Lovie Smith for the Browns defense?
No,
absolutely,
no,
absolutely
absolutely
not.
not.
Absolutely
I don't want
not.
him.
We're down on Lovie?
You know what?
Absolutely
I'm going
not.
to throw a name out there, and I know it's going to get great reaction. But I'm serious.
Don't say Greg Williams.
Greg Williams.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm about results.
Yeah, but if
The
you
guy's an ass kicker.
Yeah, but if you look
There was a thread through the building when he was there of nastiness, of just being dogs.
Healthy fear.
I don't know. If you look at his history, everybody always thought he was overhyped. His defenses were always kind of mediocre everywhere he was. I just don't think he's that good. He didn't even have a job this year. Was he even in the league?
I don't think so.
I got two.
But I'll take him back.
Jim Schwartz, which doesn't.
It's another Belichick guy.
I know.
Jim Schwartz doesn't make me feel excited in the way that the other guys do. I mean, he was with the Titans this year. But I'm going to tell you, Mike Zimmer.
Well, I mentioned Mike Zimmer for a while now.
Mike Zimmer.
What is he going to do, though, now?
They told me, I've heard that.
Isn't he at Jackson?
He's at Colorado.
Colorado with
Deion, yeah.
But he's a special assistant. He's not like the D coordinator. And people thought he was going to come to take the defensive coordinator position. He's not going to do that, which means I don't know if he wants that workload. Right.
What about the hierarchy where Zimmer was once Stefanski's boss, and now Stefanski would be Zimmer's boss?
Listen, that means they should be able to work together real good.
Give me the name of one of your subordinates when you were a manager at your previous job.
Who is it?
Roscoe.
By the way, the Cardinals have officially fired Kingsbury.
Yeah, that's not a shot.
I got two more names for you guys, by the way.
I see what you're saying.
Now can you go work for him if he's at another company? He says, "Hey, G. Bush, come be my guy."
Yeah.
That's tough, bro.
It's
You
tough.
got to bury that ego. This is a business that's.
That is a thing. Now, if he's older, there's a guy on here, Coach Eric Washington. He actually was my defensive line coach at Ohio University.
Where did he play?
He
was he with the Buccaneers? Did he play in the NFL?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He coached under Eddie Robinson and Grambling.
Oh, okay.
That's where he got to start. Then he left there, went to the Chicago Bears as defensive line coach. Then he was the defensive coordinator during the year where they went to the Super Bowl for the Carolina Panthers.
Okay.
Now he's a special assistant. I believe he's with. See where he's at. He's with the Buffalo Bills now. He's been there since 2020 as a senior defensive assistant, defensive line coach under Leslie Frazier.
So he would be a guy that the progression would make sense if he was to get a DC job.
Yeah.
So our names. Black Monday, so far we've got two coaches. Well, really, I don't know how.
Smith was last night.
Yeah, everybody knew that was coming too. But we're at 2 postseason, right? After the season ending. Normally that number is 7, between 7 and 8.
But there's more coaches that get fired during the season now. So Black Monday is exactly the same. Hey, 2 more names to add to the defensive coordinator list of candidates. Jim Leonard.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other one. I like that.
Oh, no, you meant, okay.
Love that.
But Jim Leonard's only coached I know he played in the NFL, but he's only coached in college.
Yeah, that's it.
And the other one, and this is a long shot, I don't think he would come to Cleveland, but DeMeco Ryans, the DC of the 49ers, who's interviewing for head coaches.
Yeah, he's not coming here as a DC.
The only reason I would even put him on the wish list is because if he looks at the situation as his potential interim into full-time head coaching position with Stefanski in the hot seat, because that's certainly not happening with Shanahan.
Would you guys be opposed to naming the new DC the associate head coach?
If it's going to get a good guy, absolutely not.
So that might be a situation where if you tell DeMeco you're coming and you're the associate head coach, that gives him the peace of mind that if they do pivot from Stefanski, he's in line.
The only thing I'll say is I think he might be in line for a head coaching job.
He probably is.
I mean, there's 5 openings right now.
Yeah. I mean, their defense, it's incredible where they are. So everybody talks about the importance of quarterback.
Right.
Well, look at what the Niners have done at quarterback this year. Nothing. They've had 3 different guys. Yeah. None of them are life changers. Man. And here they are. Are they the 1 seed or the 2 in the West?
The 2.
They finished behind Philly.
Yes.
Now, they're doing it with an all-time great defense. But remember, if you take a look at where the Niners are and where the Browns were when the season started, there's not a whole lot of difference there. We thought our defense would be a top 5 defense.
We did the topic. Which roster is more talented?
Right. We did. Yeah, and there were guys on that Browns defense that said, we're not going to be a top 5. We're going to be the best defense. So the similarities between the 49ers season and the Browns season are really, really stark.
I would say, though,
it's straw that stirs the drink.
We were wrong. The 49ers roster minus quarterback is one of the best in the NFL. It's better than the
coming
Browns.
into this season, we all sat here and said.
We were all wrong in being biased, I think. I think so, G.
No.
Well, not to mention they acquired Christian McCaffrey.
That was a huge.
They got Christian McCaffrey.
We've got Nick Chubb.
Yeah, but he's not the all-around player that McCaffrey is in the passing game.
No, but he's.
But Nick Chubb was better than Christian McCaffrey this year. He's been better than him in the last 3 years. He could have got 2,000 yards this year.
Yeah, but that's because McCaffrey's been hurt. But when McCaffrey's healthy, he's a factor in the passing game, which Nick Chubb is not really.
Nick Chubb does not get to rock. Let's just be clear.
He was third in carries, G. He got the rock.
Did he finish third at the end of the year?
Yes.
Even after yesterday? Because I thought he would drop with only 12.
Here's what I'm saying. To me, if you poll the people in the league, who's better, Nick Chubb or Christian McCaffrey? Nick Chubb is going to win.
I don't know about that.
I guarantee he's going to win.
There's no question that McCaffrey's more diverse.
So you got Deebo Samuel.
They got a better tight end.
But here's the thing.
Well, if you look at it,
if it's comparable,
the pay structure for these tight ends,
same difference.
I hear you, but George Kittle, when healthy, is a lot better than David Njoku.
Which is why I said they gave him too much money when they paid him
I agreed with you. And he didn't really. He was pretty good.
They got Trent Williams. They got Trent Williams. You got Joe Bitonio. They've got Bosa. You got Myles Garrett. Right. So the pieces are comparable.
They top to bottom have a much better defense.
No, we can't. We can't revisit.
We did not sit here before the season.
I know that. We were wrong. We don't know the Niners as well as we know the Niners.
You know where you're losing that bad at? Shanahan Stefanski.
By the way,
Aditi's not just that. It's not just that. Obviously, Shanahan's better.
Is there a bigger gap in talent?
Give me John Lynch, too, as our general manager.
I think it's equal.
I think the gap in coaching for the Cleveland Browns, we just talk about D'Amico Ryans. You talk about Shanahan and what he's able to do in the innovation and with a quarterback who's less than Jacoby Brissett. That's all you need to say. That's all.
Well, who's less than Jacoby Brissett?
This new dude. Who's in his name?
Well, first of all,
this guy's played. Him. They've gone through 3 quarterbacks this year.
First of all, Garoppolo's better than Jacoby Brissett.
He is.
We all know that.
Yeah.
This kid, we don't know what he is, but all we know is he's played great in the 5 games he's played. Now, he may be nothing. I don't know.
Remember, though, Garoppolo didn't even start the season.
I know, but Trey Lance got hurt in the first game.
Yeah, but still. He wasn't their starting quarterback. When they broke camp.
No, I know that, but we're talking about, you said they won with a worse quarterback. They didn't win with a worse quarterback because Garoppolo is better than Brissett.
But Watson is better than all of them. And we had him for a third of the season.
But we had him for 6 games.
That's a third of the season.
I hear you, but Brock Purdy has played well.
How many games he played?
Testament to their coach.
He played 5 games.
Oh, no.
Here, I can say,
5 games? That's a lot of games in this doggo. You could go 1-4 and this season will be over.
Sure. Listen, obviously I'm not debating that Stefanski's a better coach. Obviously Shanahan's a better coach. I'm just saying the 49ers are a more talented team.
Here,
minus quarterback.
We did that exercise. Aditi resigned. And Aditi also said, guys, it's real close, and I might give the edge to the Browns. She's a neutral observer.
I can't say that the 49ers have superior talent to the Browns. I can say this. Under the Browns' underdevelopment, I don't know what I have with the Browns. I don't know what these guys are, right? That's what I can honestly
And so that's where a coach is so important. Right. Clearly in San Francisco, they were getting a lot more
value out of what they have.
Out of a Brock Purdy, who was the biggest question mark, going.
Again, though,
by the way,
we don't know that he's not good.
With Brock Purdy, and this is just throwing fuel to the fire real quick, he started 6 games for the 49ers this year, threw 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
6 games.
We can't just say he stinks because he was a late draft pick.
We're not. What we're saying is he was a nobody that was coached up to be a player that helped them get the 2 seed.
Have had other quarterbacks fill in for Garoppolo, and they've all stunk in the past. So it's not like he's done that with every quarterback.
I don't know the others that filled in for Garoppolo.
Who filled in for Garoppolo?
Garoppolo's hurt every year.
No, who filled in for him?
Nick Mullins.
Exactly. Those guys are all terrible.
CJ Beathard.
Hell, Mullins played well when he was there.
Look, man.
He had some moments.
Listen, it ain't close. The man Shanahan.
But let's be honest. None of us can name more than 3 players on the Niners defense. So there's no way we can know who's got the better defense.
No, but the one thing that you can look at, which is apples to apples, are just the points against, the rankings, and the 49ers have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yes, but I think they're also more talented there.
And coming into the season, everyone on this panel thought that the Browns were going to have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
We were, but we deluded ourselves. Let's be honest.
There's probably some of that going on.
The secondary underachieved, no doubt. Yeah. But the front 7 was not that good, and we thought it was better than it was.
No, we did not. I didn't say none of that. I said you got 2 ball players and you need D tackles. I've never championed these D tackles.
That's fair.
Or
Or
front
backers.
7. I said front 7.
Or backers. None of them. I don't like none of them. I don't like you got 2
Well,
cats.
then we overrated the defense as a whole, knowing that the front 7 wasn't
guys,
that good.
We
Let's
thought
do this.
we thought Myles Garrett was Superman and
Yeah.
he's supposed to make every tackle.
Right.
That's
Biggest
what we
hole
did.
to fill for 2023.
I actually think, as bad as D tackle is, I think it's speed wide receiver.
Wow, really?
I actually think the same those too.
Are you talking about position?
Biggest area of need for the Browns in the
Oh,
offseason.
you got to shore up that D line.
Yeah, I'm
That's
with
awful.
you.
That's awful.
Now, it's a valid point. They have nobody that can take the top off this defense, and that's a
Zero.
problem.
I mean, they need both of those
But
things.
they
obviously.
supposedly drafted a guy in Anthony Schwartz.
No.
Fail. He didn't do it. And by the
Goodbye.
way, when you know you make a mistake, you compound the mistake when you don't move on from mistake.
Let me show
And
you
Anthony
something.
Schwartz
Yeah,
is
has to be gone
a mistake. It was obvious before the season started he was a mistake. Move on from
100%.
it. I know the media is going to be talking to Barry and Stefanski later this afternoon. If any media members that are going to be at this news conference are present, please, for the sake of all Cleveland fans, please get to the bottom of this mystery. What the hell is Paul DePodesta's role in this franchise? What does he do? How much sway does he have? Does he have input on the actual offensive game plan?
Yeah.
Because
I don't think he does. I know other people think
there
he
are
does.
people that cover the league that thinks he absolutely does,
I think
and they
there's
think he has too much.
I think there's an agenda within the league because he's an analytics guy and they don't like it, and it was just like the baseball people were paranoid. I don't think he has anything to do with the game planning. However, the rest of that is completely fair, but they would never answer it, so it's going to be, I
Pin
think
him
the
down.
question obviously should be asked,
Bull.
but they're not going to answer it.
No, they probably won't, and
Yeah.
I hope they answer it because let's transition to the one name.
By the way, real quick,
Yeah.
now I don't believe DePodesta is involved with the day-to-day of the game plan of the offense. If he is, this organization's screwed, and they have no chance.
I'm afraid that he is,
Yeah.
only because people that I respect and trust that cover the league tell me he is.
And why?
That's a disaster.
And that is a disaster if it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
And
100%.
here's my thing too, man. If I'm at the press conference and I'm sitting there, I'd be pissed off because you didn't answer none of my questions all freaking year. If you can't answer my questions about the game plan, what happened, we got another one in front of us, we got to go out there and put our foot forward. I'm not about to sit here and have you patronize me in front of this press conference at the end of the
Is
year.
Jason at the press conference? Do we know?
Ask
at
something.
3:30.
I would think so.
That's
text
the only
him. I'll
hope,
ask
because the rest of these guys, they're worried about losing their job.
What do you
having
do?
that connection.
What do you do? What do you guys do?
Yeah.
I've seen you do nothing. You got these guys will get paid millions to sit up here.
One of them's being paid millions and doesn't live in the state.
Don't even live here.
That is.
I'm
never liked
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
That's
For
sick.
1 second, I'm going to
Yeah.
start the one name blame
That's
game.
sick.
Yeah.
Jimmy Haslam. Period. Full stop. Jimmy Haslam. End of story.
Yeah.
Now, even if I was to go too deep, which that's not the exercise, I'm blaming Jimmy Haslam because we're in the Paul DePodesta position that we're in. He's been hoodwinked by Paul DePodesta. Go check his credentials when he was a baseball general manager. He wasn't a winner. He didn't win anywhere he was.
No championship. They talk about
Nothing.
Moneyball.
Nothing. No, Moneyball was about one playoff appearance.
The A's did what?
Nothing. And by the way, they had a Cy Young staff, a staff loaded with Cy Young candidates and an MVP shortstop.
I ain't never
but when you
seen-
watch the movie, it was all about Scott Hatterberg. That's the biggest pile of BS I've ever seen.
I ain't never seen that
Moneyball
like it.
was
Oh, and-
a Hollywood creation with all kinds of liberty.
movie, though.
And great movie, but you have to understand going into it that it's a bunch of crap. And I think Jimmy Haslam bought into this mythology that Paul DePodesta is this guy who's going to figure out how to peel an apple a different way. It hasn't worked. He's been here long enough. It hasn't worked. Now, I'm not crapping on analytics, Bull. I know you think I do. I'm not. What I'm looking for is the right marriage between analytics and gut and feel. And right now, this franchise is too entrenched in the analytics.
Well, I think that's true. I
think, want a balance.
I think the problem was they had a group when DePodesta was first here, and they had Hugh Jackson. And
they didn't buy in at all.
They didn't even use it. They ignored it.
that.
They weren't interested in it. What's his name? Who's the GM?
Dorsey wasn't.
Sausage Brown.
Dorsey was
total meathead, not
right.
interested. And now they've gone too far the other way. I brought this up before.
You nailed it.
I brought this up before. Theo Epstein said, I didn't become a good general manager until I realized that I had to mix the X's and the O's with the Jimmys and the Joes, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? It has to be a mix.
And by the way,
anybody that wants it 100% here, 100%, much like politics, if you want to be here, you're probably an idiot.
You're right.
If you want to be
in the
here,
middle is where you
you're
want to live.
probably smart.
And Bull, that's a great point, because the analytics movement, the birth of analytics, the real birth of analytics in sports was Billy Beane and Paul DePodesta.
Yeah.
They falsely got all the credit. Theo Epstein is the guy that figured it out.
Yes.
He figured it out by ending an all-time long drought in Boston and bringing a title to the Red Sox. Then he went to the Cubs, the longest drought in baseball, and he ended that drought. How did he do it? What you just said. He figured out that the numbers are hugely important, but you cannot ignore the other stuff. And when he embraced all of it, that's where you want to be.
You have to go the heart and the head.
Jimmy is way too in on Paul DePodesta, so he's my one-name blame game.
Let me say this. First of all, every sport is not the same. Right?
No,
and
it's not.
There's not a 50-50 marriage out here. The predominant factor in any sport is this. You have to understand and recognize what talent is. You have to know what talent is. It is not in the books. It's not in the film. You have to know it when you see it.
It's not Anthony Schwartz's 40
right,
time.
Right. It is not that. Now you take that knowledge and mirror it with a percentage. I don't know what the number is, but it ain't 50-50.
Right.
Right? And bleed that into that. Now you can get some ground.
Do you think it's more gut and feel and eyeballs than analytics?
Yeah, because you have to be able to recognize it on the fly when things aren't going right. I don't need to go to the book to see it's trending right. My eyes tell me it's not trending right. Right.
And we've lost that.
Right. And so you have to bleed
who's your
that
one
in
name
with
blame game?
Oh, just for the running of the show? It's
For
Stefanski.
the 2023 season, you're Stefanski.
It's Stefanski.
Okay, so he's got 2 votes.
Oh, that's easy. You shouldn't even ask me. That S on the chest, Stefanski. What you talking about, man? These guys, you lost people like I've been saying for years. You kept Joe Woods, you could have fired him during the year, right? When you didn't fire him during the year, Clowney comes out and he throws a grenade right in your locker room. And players around the league are going to say, why am I coming to Cleveland? We back to overpaying people now. Because the people that they respect, the veterans, the top-notch guys, Jarvis, Odell, Jadeveon Clowney,
just killed you out in the market.
Kareem Hunt.
Just killed you.
They're like, don't go to Cleveland.
Don't do that.
Because they're not going to put you in position to make plays, and then if you rock the boat, they're going to get you up out of here.
That's the worst reputation you can have. Bull, your one-name blame game?
Real quick, in fairness, I don't think Kareem Hunt would say that. I don't think he's got any ill will on the Browns.
His father might.
And Clowney's a clown. I mean, Myles Garrett was killing him on Friday. Clowney's a clown. He gets no credibility. And nobody respects him. He's a clown.
That's from
Odell and Jarvis, I agree with.
But that's from your perspective.
It's from Myles Garrett's perspective, too.
But that's from the perspective.
Those 4 names have cachet.
They got
Hunt,
names.
Clowney, Jarvis, and OBJ.
But I don't think Hunt has bad feelings about the Browns.
Sure he does. He said he wanted to retire here. They didn't return his calls. He held out.
And yesterday he
hold
sounded
out.
like
Yes,
a guy who was.
He left practice and said, I'm not practicing.
Yeah, but gee, what were they supposed to do? So they didn't pay him? That makes them wrong? I don't think they did anything wrong to him.
They not only didn't pay him,
They
didn't
saved his
Hold on,
career.
They did, because he's going to go somewhere else now and be used properly.
But guess what?
No, they're going to save his career the second time by letting him go.
Somebody else is going. They didn't pay him, and they didn't play him.
They shouldn't have paid him.
Who's your one-name blame game?
Right.
One name blame game is, for this year, Jimmy Haslam is ultimately the man to blame. For this year, I'm going to blame Joe Woods because ultimately, as bad as we picked. I know I picked when the Watson suspension came down. I picked the Browns to go 8-9. But had I known at that time that Jacoby Brissett would play, I never thought Jacoby Brissett would play as well as he did. Now, he wasn't great every game, but for the most part, over 11 games, Jacoby Brissett played good football.
He did.
Good, solid football. And the Browns should have won a lot more than 7 games.
They should have been. They could have been 7-4.
They should have easily won 10 games this year, the way he played. But their defense was so awful that they didn't. Okay. And some of it was the Jets thing. We all know the Chargers. Right. What happened there? The Falcons game earlier in the year.
McNuggets, you got a one-name blame game?
I'm kind of with Bull, actually. I think Joe Woods, yes, it goes way up the tree, and Stefanski's in charge of Joe Woods, but I think Bull nailed it. People wanted to build statues for Brissett for how he played for 11 games.
That's true.
And then they're arguing and complaining that they didn't win enough games because the offense was stagnant. It falls on the defense. 2 things real quick. I don't know who Glenn Cook is. Take tag board full. but the Titans have officially requested permission to interview Browns assistant GM for their GM opening. Do you guys know Glenn Cook and what he does in this
I've heard the
organization?
name, but
No,
I
they
have
can
no
have
idea
him.
what he does.
They can have him.
Bro, we don't know what none of them do. We just
We don't know
what they do.
Hey, McNuggets, I just sent you a text message. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. Can you? Is there any way you can throw that up?
Give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who
You
it
guys want
is
to talk
either.
about memberships real quick? While I'm
He might go on to be.
Let's talk about memberships for a minute. Folks, now is the time. We have a record number of viewers today. Thank you all for joining us as we put to bed an awful season and start to look ahead already to the 2023 season, which is what, 8 months away?
Yeah.
We're about
109
we're about
days
6.5 months from training camp. It'll be here before you know it.
You call me.
G is depressed. He's sad. He's ornery. He's angry. He'll be excited and pumped by the summer.
My emoji matches my feeling. Look at
That's
that.
right. His emoji will be smiling, though, by July because it'll be warm and there'll be hope for the Browns again. Become a Coaches Tier member. You get all the All-Star Tier perks, plus the overtime videos, all the extra content we do, discount codes for merchandise, and more. Please become a subscriber. Please become a member. And click that like bell so you get alerts.
And we did text during the game yesterday, right?
Yeah.
We were texting during the game. How many people that pulled up on us?
About 1,012.
For the game text
We got
chat.
40.
About 40.
Okay, way to throw me under the bus there.
It's a good time.
You were close, Bull.
1,060.
My God, am I grubby looking?
That's okay. You know what? I like it. It fits the
supposed to
mood
get a
of the show
haircut
right
today.
now today. That's how. If the show had a physical appearance,
It'd be me.
It would be you today.
That's the Browns. The Browns are me. By the way, that first Steeler touchdown. So the Browns were up 7-0. They scored that first Steeler touchdown. It's like 3rd and whatever.
Yep.
And that long touchdown.
Blown
that
coverage.
just summed up the whole season.
It did.
Right? Blown coverage on a 3rd and long play where you know they're throwing the ball.
And the rookie quarterback
Right.
beat you.
And they are not. And by the way, when Aditi comes on, I'm gonna tell her.
Right, I can't reach
this
that.
is one of the worst
You reach?
Steelers teams I've ever seen that beat the Browns. This Steelers team ain't good. This Steelers team is me. Oh my gosh.
Do you know that
They're mediocre. They finished 9-8.
and
I'm a buffoon. I'm an idiot for saying the Steelers will finish under 500. As my good friend Dustin Fox would say,
get you.
never bet against Mike Tomlin.
She gonna get you.
I did it again.
She gonna get you.
She won't because she's classy, unlike me. So she won't, but I deserve it.
Aditi, if you listen, please eviscerate this man.
when you
'cause I
took your
told
victory
him.
lap, I thought
I told him.
Bull's right on this one. No, at the beginning of the year, I said I have learned. I've never. Jason and I said, hell no, they're going 500. They might make the playoffs.
And they were 2-6.
But when they were 2-6, I said I got to give it to Bull because this is a fair victory lap. They're on their way to being 4-13.
Yeah.
And the
Unbelievable.
difference of the last half of the season was the Pittsburgh
Just leave
and
that
Cleveland Cleveland.
Just leave
that
that
about
up.
sums it up.
One
leave it
other
up.
thing,
Just
quickly,
yeah.
about are you?
Although we didn't even talk about it. At least they didn't make the playoffs because the
No,
Dolphins
I know.
won that game.
Well, thankfully.
Yeah.
So, do you know that every Cleveland Browns fan that is younger than 34 years old,
Right.
34,
Well, yeah,
has never seen the Browns sweep the Steelers?
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's crazy.
That makes me want to vomit.
I mean, that should be impossible.
That's amazing.
It should be.
It should be impossible.
You're talking about 30. Now, it's not been 34 seasons. It goes back
Yeah.
to 88, I think.
Yeah.
And there were 3 years, obviously, where the Browns didn't play. But
Right,
let's
right.
face it, if they had a team then, they wouldn't have swept them in those 3 years either.
Probably
but
not.
It's stunning to think that every single Browns fan under the age of 34 can say, never seen it. Now, every Browns fan on the planet can say this, never seen our team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That just on its face value, is fireable. I told him. I told him in the chat. I looked it up. The Browns came in the league in 1999, expansion team. They give all kind of excuses. We talked about it on the 2-minute warning. The Carolina Panthers, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars, came into the league in 1995. Since 1995, the Jacksonville Jaguars have had 17
I thought it was the
playoff.
Panthers that had 17.
Since 17 or 15.
No, Panthers had 15. Jags had 17.
Yeah.
Playoff games?
7.
To get 17 playoff games for the Browns, you got to go back to 1971.
And the Browns have had, and the Browns, and by the way, the Texans came into the league in 2002. They have 10 playoff games, and the Browns still have 3.
By the way, let me give you another stat. Remember how we were drinking the Kool-Aid about the Browns winning 6 in a row?
Yeah.
You know? Do you know the last?
Wait.
That was just
All right,
me.
sorry.
I
That
wasn't
G. Bush was
I
6
wasn't-
years.
I wasn't drinking no Kool-Aid.
We enjoyed.
That was
By the way,
specifically on your bullet.
I don't know how I didn't look it up at the time. Do you know the last time the Browns won 6 regular season games in a row?
I would imagine it was the Bernie era.
No.
They never did it?
They won in '86. They won 6 in a row, but that included they won their last 5 in the regular
And then the
season
first
and a
playoff
playoff
game.
game.
Okay, yeah.
So that was technically last. But the last time they won 6 in a row in the regular
Probably
season,
then the 60s, I would imagine.
1972.
Oh my goodness.
That's 50 years ago.
So
50 years since they won 6. The Chiefs and Bills have done it twice in the last 3 years. 50 years.
You're making me more and more depressed as these numbers are flying around our set.
You gotta laugh so you don't cry.
You're right.
That's
the only way to
that's
look
the way
at
to
it.
do
Because
it.
when you suck that bad.
I was looking at your boy, was it Purdy? What's his name?
Brock
Yeah,
Purdy.
Brock Purdy.
I was looking at his
Won
stats.
5 games.
And I was going through the NFC stats, and I looked down and I said, "Oh, who the hell is this?" Somebody threw for 4,282 yards, 4,282,
Yeah.
and 30 touchdowns, and the quarterback rating was 100.9. Can we guess who that was?
Who was it?
I know the answer.
Jared Goff.
Geno freaking
Geno.
Smith.
Broke the Seahawks record for touchdowns.
And Jared Goff
And
played,
got in
Jared
the
Goff played
playoffs.
great too.
Because
And by
Baker
the
threw
way,
a pick.
because Baker's interception, Seattle's in the playoffs. And one quick note.
What happened?
Baker
threw a pick at the start of overtime that set up the game-winning field goal. By
No.
Seattle. But in all fairness, Seattle should have closed the deal in regulation. They had a field goal that went off the upright. Then it went to overtime. Seattle went 3 and out. Baker gets the ball, second play.
I mean, he just threw it up for grabs.
Crazy throw. Throws the pick. That was that. Here's the ultimate flex. Maybe, when this happens, it's like karma is a real thing.
Oh my God.
When Russ Wilson was having his Where Am I Going tour,
Yeah.
he made it pretty clear that I can't win here.
Right.
He's out of the playoffs. His career is on life support. And the Seattle Seahawks
Are in
the playoffs without him.
They are the second biggest. They had the second longest odds in the last 5 years of any team to make the playoffs.
Going into a season?
Yeah. Last 5 years.
So
Wow.
Even longer odds than the Bengals last year because nobody had the Bengals.
The Browns when they were coming off the 0-6.
No, it wasn't even the Browns.
Really?
The Browns had better odds of making the playoffs that year. That only Washington a couple of years ago had longer odds than the
all
Seahawks.
of the
That's stunning.
statistics that we just brought up just showed you one thing.
What?
If somebody tells you it takes 5 years,
Yeah, that's baloney.
10 years,
Yeah.
they're lying. They just buying time. They gentlemen punted on.
Look at the Jaguars.
The Jaguars.
Well, think about this AFC
Jaguars
right now.
are
They
in
did
the
it.
playoffs.
Carolina did it
5
within
coaches
this season.
this
Carolina
year.
almost made the playoffs.
Yeah, but
5 coaches, 5 first-year head coaches made the playoffs this season. Not that. That's not that.
Well,
not
Stefanski
that.
was a first-year head coach.
Now,
when
in
he did it.
fairness, Mike McDaniel got very lucky. They completely fell apart at the end of the year.
That's true.
But still, look at the AFC right now. The number 1 seed's Kansas City. Great young quarterback. Number 2 seed Buffalo. Great young quarterback.
Right.
Number 3 seed Cincinnati. Great young quarterback. Number 4 seed Jacksonville. Now, he's got to do it longer, but it looks like Trevor Lawrence is starting to become the guy we thought he was.
Especially with Doug Peterson.
That's right. Number 5 seed, Chargers, Justin Herbert, great young quarterback.
quarterback.
Number 6 seed, the Ravens. We know what they are. They're always competitive. We'll see what Lamar's status is. And then even 7, I know it fell apart for them at the end, but Miami with Tua. I know you and I don't love him.
I know, but
Mahomes is the oldest AFC playoff
I
quarterback.
mean, that's crazy.
that's nuts.
That is insane. How old is he?
Not 27,
25,
20
26?
No, he's got to be over than 25.
Yeah, Burrow's
Definitely
I
over
think
than
25,
25. But he's
26.
probably 27, 28.
Where are those guys going?
Matt
Nowhere.
Jones is 27 years
Nowhere.
old.
27, and he's
27
the
this
elder
year.
statesman of the
Yeah.
AFC team. But can you call up that graphic that I sent you?
So you actually broke Tagboard when he sent it to us. Literally nothing on Tagboard's going to pull up right now. The
Okay.
Haslam's literally
Tagboard
the Haslam's
broke.
Tag. Do you want to read the stats for you, Jay?
I got it right here. I'll
Okay.
read it. It broke it because the stats are so ugly that our computer system could not handle it.
Yeah.
I'm not
and this
kidding.
is, by the way-
it actually broke Tag. Nothing.
Steve, let's take Tagboard broke, please. Tagboard broke.
This is this is why my one name blame game is Jimmy Haslam.
Okay.
He's now been in charge for 11 years. He's the only constant over those 11 years. GMs have come and gone, coaches have come and gone, quarterbacks have come and gone. Those are the 3 other pillars to a successful organization: owner, GM, quarterback, coach. All of those other positions have been flushed over 20 times.
Many times. Yeah.
There's been one owner. In his 11 seasons,
Okay.
the Browns have won 59 games.
And lost.
If you double that number, you get 118. That's the number of games they've lost.
So they lost 2/3 of their games.
They have a winning percentage. They have one tie in there. They have a winning percentage of 33% under Jimmy Haslam.
So they've averaged less than 5.5 wins per season with him.
Less than 5.5.
Yeah.
Of his 11 seasons,
Jeez.
they have had one season with a winning record. One.
That's crazy.
Other numbers that are reasons we don't keep razor blades on the set.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, these are really depressing, guys, but they are what they are.
He has one.
Hey, we got breaking news.
Breaking
real quick.
news?
Go ahead.
The Browns have officially requested permission to interview Brian Flores as
Awesome.
their defensive coordinator.
right.
That's per Adam Schefter. You take tag board full. Let's see if it'll work.
Slow clap.
I'll
Slow
take
clap.
that.
We can take tweets. We can't take pictures, Jay. So we have to actually figure this out
Okay.
on the back end here.
7 of the last 10 years, the Browns have finished in last place. 17 of the last 24 years, the Browns have finished in last place.
My God.
17 of the last 24. In that same 24-year stretch, the Patriots have finished in first place more than the Browns have finished in last place.
Well, Jay, you know this.
That's crazy.
What wins in sports is culture.
And where does culture start?
Culture starts from, let me take this out of my ear. Culture starts from the top. That's where it starts from, right? And you can't fake it. You can't trick people.
You can't buy it.
Can't buy it. People know it when they got it. They know when they're in it because when they're in it, they never want to leave it. They're like, this is the place to be. I don't care if it's you get less money sometimes. Just the culture is better. I'd rather stay around here. And if you tell me, I'm just looking at those numbers. Listen to those numbers, right?
Sad.
It's staggering.
Staggering.
That's staggering. I mean,
One winning season.
It's
In 11
staggering.
years.
And I can guarantee you that most people in this town don't even know the culmination, the collective totals that you just talked
Oh,
about.
yeah.
They,
So
they
have no
probably
idea.
don't know that
By
it's
the
been
way,
one winning season.
Yesterday on the post-game show, I made this point to G, and I know you shook your head when I said this because I know you agreed. I remember, because I had just started working here, I think I'd been here a year. Haslam bought the team in 12, right?
Yes.
Right? So I'd been here a year when Haslam bought the team. And I remember, coincidentally, Dustin and I were doing the show at the Pro Football Hall of Fame when the news broke, right? And we were excited because the last owner wasn't very good.
Over the hill.
Yeah.
He was not very good.
Sure.
We were all excited. New owner.
He got
How
a
great is
bag,
this?
got the
And
big
he's-
bag.
And,
And he
he's
had
worse.
a Steeler tie.
Yeah, and he
We're
was
like,
with the
bring
Steelers.
that rub
That
off.
pedigree.
Yeah.
And he's worse.
He's worse than Lerner.
He's worse. At least Lerner, kind of stayed out of the way. I mean, he was, he didn't know what the hell he was doing either. But at least he wasn't, thinking he was a football
His
guy.
son-in-law was not running the team, unless I could be wrong. Maybe
The
he was.
son-in-law is a clown. I mean, a clown beyond epic proportions. It's ridiculous. The whole thing's absurd.
But he hasn't lost his job. A lot of GMs have.
Right.
A lot of coaches
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
A lot of quarterbacks have. Here's the problem, guys. You can't fire the owner.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
By the
All
way-
we can do is beg him to sell. That's it.
By the way, I'm not going to name any names, but when I took a shot at J.W. Johnson on Twitter yesterday, I had a few former Browns employees send me either text or private messages on Twitter saying, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I know. I've heard the
More
same.
than one.
We've been critical on this show of
Yeah.
him and his involvement with the Browns. And every time I do it, I hear from people that say, why is he somehow off limits when it comes to criticism?
No.
And my response was, he's not.
Not on this show.
Oh, by the way, everything should be good moving forward. With the Browns, they fired Bernie Kosar. So everything should be good now.
Now,
do y'all got some inside information?
Well,
on this thing?
here's what I heard.
This is a mess.
Jay, I think you
It's a
heard this
mess.
too.
I did, but I can't confirm it. I asked him outright, and I didn't get an answer.
So Bernie
sadly.
made a bet.
Bernie made a bet.
I didn't even know. I honestly
but it
didn't even know
wasn't-
he worked for
it
the
wasn't-
team.
It was for charity.
He made the first
bet.
public bet.
It was public.
Pete Rose made the first
But
one.
I
think Bernie
heard
made the
that
second.
Bernie had told the Browns he was going to do this.
I was told by someone who I trust and respect
Yeah.
that Bernie had run this past the Browns and had permission to do it. Here's the problem with that. I asked Bernie point blank that question, and I
Yeah.
did not get a response.
Okay, so
and
maybe
that
he
scares
didn't.
me.
Maybe he didn't.
So maybe
No,
he didn't.
This is more of we're picking on the Browns deservedly, so they're a mess. This is really more of an NFL thing. Bernie doesn't really work for the Browns. He just does. I honestly didn't even know he did a segment on their pregame show.
I didn't either.
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
They pay him he's like an independent contractor.
He's really, what he is he's an ambassador.
That's what he is.
It's ridiculous. I understand. One of my friends said to me, "Well, what's the difference between?" He goes, "Well, they did the same thing with Calvin Ridley last year."
I said this.
Calvin Ridley's a player who can affect the outcome of a game.
Suspended.
He was out.
I mean, he was out, but still, he's a player. This is ridiculous.
It's so much intertwined in this whole setup, right? Because what they could have done was here. You talk about just bad PR all the way around. You could have just suspended Bernie and said, okay, here's it is, because of the league rules or whatever you're saying.
Right.
We're suspending Bernie for a period of time here.
Yeah.
Bernie's one of the best.
Bernie's had the belief for a while that they wanted rid of him.
That's how it comes off. It comes off just like that.
Well,
like,
I mean,
like you gave me an out. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it.
This is the problem I've always had with people, and I get angry with, because you're a poser. You're posing. Like when you suspend players and do it, we know you soft. We know you ain't got no account. We know you running amok.
He's the guy that got fired. Bernie Kosar. He's the guy that they got fired.
That's a tough guy. You go after the 50-year-old quarterback that his knees is bad, and he talking about. Here's the thing: these guys do this little stuff, and I'm gonna tell you, they are smarter than everybody else. You know what they do? They've been so insulated. They figured out where everybody else went wrong. The only difference between Sherman, Mangini, Hugh Jackson, all of them, is eventually we gonna find y'all.
Right.
Eventually we gonna pin you down and we're gonna take you to task.
Right.
They did the best thing ever. They said, well, what if we come through stealth? Like the stealth bomber. They're gonna ask us any question, we don't know. If they
don't give any answers.
They're gonna say, what is your job title? We don't know. They're gonna say, what was the score of the game? We don't know.
You know what's funny?
What are you going to do to fix it?
Something. You know what's funny is Stefanski and Berry really talk the same way that Antonetti and Chernoff do. They all talk the same.
Yeah.
But they win, so we don't care.
Right, we're not pressing
We
them
don't
for
care.
answers. Keep
But
doing
they
what you're
all
doing.
went to the same nerd school of talking to sports people.
And
right.
Then I've never seen a guy DePodesta who hovers like a craft. He's a specter. He's a spirit, the ghost of DePodesta.
And he lives in California.
So when something goes bad, who do we blame?
Why do we have to suffer in cold weather when he gets to go to San Diego? That's baloney.
We have to go back to that. There's nobody that can run any organization from 3,000 miles away.
No one.
Or have any input.
Because you have to be there
And
because things change here on a daily basis.
And Brad, we did the little exercise last week where I said, okay, let's figure out, because it's all guesswork because they don't tell us, what's the power structure of the Browns? And I think my answer, and a lot of others, was Jimmy Haslam, Paul DePodesta, Andrew Berry.
Right.
My problem was I don't even have the coach in the top three.
Right.
And one of the guys isn't present. He lives in California, and by the way, his resume is filled with baseball. What? Only here. And somehow we haven't pressed the owner for answers about this.
Can't find him. He couldn't even tell you what vending machine.
Candidly.
Yeah, candidly. I want to win as badly as you do.
If he was over everything, he couldn't even tell you what snacks is going to the vending
By the way,
machine.
wait a second. Can we roll that video? Let's go to tag board full there, Steve. Can we roll that video of Jimmy Haslam walking? Now tell me it doesn't look like. You know the video I'm talking about, Mikey?
Yeah, it's number 48. Give it 30 seconds.
He walking like he got it figured out.
He's walking like
Look at that.
He just took a dump.
Yeah.
He's like, he just took a dump and his butt's feeling a little like he didn't wipe himself well enough.
Oh, no.
That's how he's walking. I know it's a little crude and gross. That's how he's walking. What is the matter with him? Does he have a problem with his ass?
Hey, pause.
I've gone off the deep edge, yes. But that's what the Browns have done to me for 12 years. And I even grew up rooting for this team.
Imagine 50-something years, right, Brad? 40-something years, right, G?
60.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine being immersed in this
I mean, I can.
toilet for 50 years?
Yes.
And y'all done had to deal with it like the real deal with it. Like, you got to think about it. There's been whole decades where it's perfect. The Browns in the 70s, not a good look. Browns in the 90s, they took the team. Browns in the 2010s, oh, good gracious, they won. Listen, it's been whole lifetimes. Say for instance, if you was born in like 70 something, right?
I was born in 65. You were born in
62.
Oh, y'all ain't never seen nobody win.
Here's all that you need to know.
We're ate up with it.
Sum up the Browns since at least 99. That if you ask people who is the Browns' best player since 99, Phil Dawson, a kicker, is probably second on the list.
You're right.
That's how sad they
behind
are.
Joe.
I mean, Joe's first.
Yeah.
And then probably, I mean, I guess at this point you might say,
What'd you say?
Nick Chubb.
at this point you'd
And
probably
Myles Garrett, they're
Sean
sleeping.
Antonio, but until like 2-3 years ago, it was Dawson. And he's still in the top 5.
Or a kick returner.
Or Josh Cribbs.
They're
in the top 10, both of those guys.
Special teams guys.
You can't name one quarterback. If you don't have one quarterback in your top 10 in 25 years, that's a problem.
It is a problem. And, so if you name the top 5, we kind of say Garrett and Chubb are in there.
Right.
And we've
Bitonio.
got one playoff win. And, they said something on the broadcast yesterday that really depressed me even more than I am now, because we did have the playoff game to hang our hat on. Mm-hmm. But then they mentioned, for the Browns to punch their playoff ticket, they got a win in Pittsburgh, but there were only 200 people in the building.
Right. Like it didn't even happen.
Because the COVID. Imagine if during the COVID season, our one playoff appearance, if COVID restrictions hadn't kept fans out of the stadium, we would have lost that game in hell.
Also, the Steelers had nothing to play for that game. Remember?
True. But the fans would have provided the energy.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
And the Steelers would have wanted to knock out the Browns.
But when we beat them in the playoffs,
and
there were 200 people in the building.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if a tree falls in the forest and no one sees it, did it really fall down?
McNuggets is excited. He has a game he wants to play with us. It's basically called the McNuggets Spin Zone. Do I have that right?
It's the McNuggets Spin Zone. It's not necessarily a game. I'm just going to, this is such a down Monday show. I wanted to give some positivity.
We're laughing. You got to laugh,
put
like
some
you said.
positivity in the world, and I found some spin zones here to look at the Browns season in a glass half full perspective.
Oh,
so
this is the shield.
I came with 5 undeniable hardcore facts that prove the Browns are better than we thought they were this year. You guys ready?
What?
I need to see this.
I'm ready for this.
Go ahead.
So we talked about early in the season. We ripped Grant Delpit
You are
apart.
what your record says you are.
We wanted Grant Delpit gone. Well, guess what? Take it, Steve. He had twice as many interceptions as Jalen Ramsey this year, who's the best DB in the league. Grant Delpit, elite
Who
defensive
said
back.
Jalen Ramsey's the best DB in the league?
First McNugget spin zone.
Tyvis told us he was not good
Tyvis
early
told us he
season.
was the best.
Tyvis sucks.
No,
Tyvis said
early
Tyvis
on.
said he wasn't the best. but
Tyvis
PFF
said
has
early
him
on,
number one.
how's this guy on the team?
Right.
So first spin zone, Grant Delpit better than Jalen Ramsey.
Well,
The
Jalen
numbers
Ramsey,
prove it.
first
Grant
of all,
Delpit's not
his
good.
star has fallen dramatically.
Yes.
And he gambles so much and is wrong.
And he had a cheap shot where he hit Gino out of bounds.
Gino,
wait.
that was cold.
Speaking of cheap shots, and I don't want to, but I have to bring this up.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Steelers celebration with the CPR after the sack? After the last
They've
sack?
been doing that all year.
Have they?
I did see that.
Okay,
How
then
much did not do it, though?
I mean,
they should not do it.
I
haven't seen it all year.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was like this.
But so it doesn't excuse it. How about knowing what the temperature in the room
that's
is,
poor.
guys, and don't do it?
Yeah, that's poor.
I was stunned by that.
I didn't know they
yesterday.
did it all year.
It was the last sack of the game.
By the way, speaking of the Steelers, we talked about this last week. Deontay Johnson set the NFL record for most receptions
without
in
a
season
touchdown.
without a touchdown.
And he got tackled at the inch line or whatever it was.
And he got a 2-point conversion.
And he did have a
but he didn't get
conversion.
touchdown.
And by the way, the last thing before we go to number 2 is,
Yeah.
did you see Mike Tomlin's freeze frame fist pound with the referee?
No.
No.
I did not
He's
see that.
walking past
It was
each
after
other.
the game, he
After the
fist
game,
bumped
he goes.
That's an awful look.
Are you going to be one of these conspiracy theory guys now?
No, I just was giving him
Bull,
a spread beat.
grade the officiating in yesterday's game.
I
And I don't use officiating as an excuse.
I thought the officiating was poor. In fact, I heard somebody said that one of the refs, the ref went to Watson and apologized for missing the face mask call.
Yeah.
He did.
That was horrific. What
But-
about the phantom pass interference call?
It was bad. The Browns did get a makeup call, though, later.
They did.
But
Yeah, they did.
It was bad. More of the bad calls went against the Browns. However, nobody was cheating.
Right.
None of that,
But I don't want to see the head coach fist bumping any.
No, that's poor.
Yeah.
The referee should know better than to
That's
to do
really
it,
bad.
You know?
Really bad.
Is there? I do think there is something to be said about when you don't respect somebody, you don't got a name, you're not gonna get the
That
benefit
may
of
be
the doubt on
subconscious.
that. Yeah, you're not gonna get that.
I think so. But
You're not gonna get that call.
Brad, did you ever high five, slap hands, fist bump with an NBA ref?
No. Somebody
interact
might
with
talk
them.
to you in the tunnel afterwards. Or pass
I know
them.
they
don't fraternize.
No, not especially in front of the
Charles Barkley
cameras.
kissed what's his name on the head.
I know, but they had a long-standing deal.
Dick Bavetta, right?
Yeah, it was. But to me, I just think that
never
Dick
two,
Bavetta's so old, he was called Richard 50 years ago.
Never the two worlds should intersect.
Ever.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but you know what? I didn't think that, looking at the game, the umpiring was not elite.
No, it was a D-, I thought.
I don't think it was.
It was
elite.
very poor, but the Browns lost because they
I don't know
sucked.
if it was
Right.
as bad as I've seen all year, but it was real close.
I
But the pass interference that on a third down gave them
that was
life.
terrible.
And I'm like, he never touched him.
It was terrible. Oh, I saw a call in, I think it was also in the Rams-Seahawks game. They called roughing the kicker on a call with the kicker barely got touched. Whatever, it's got to get better. What's
Number two,
Mike?
a lot of talk this offseason about the Browns not having a number one receiver. Well, when you dig into the deep analytics, that's not true because Amari Cooper had more receiving touchdowns than Justin Jefferson.
Which is amazing because Jefferson had like 1,900
Bonafide
yards,
number
right?
one receiver, might be top 5 in the league after that stat.
Oh, I'm not going to say top 5
You
in
just
the league.
embarrassed
No way.
yourself right there.
No way.
These are all very sarcastic if you guys
I
care.
know.
okay.
I know. So was I when I said you embarrassed yourself.
Thank you.
What's your next one, Mikey?
All right, next one. We complained all year about Nick Chubb not getting enough touches, and he still had nearly twice as many rushing yards as Joe Mixon. Take that, haters.
We said earlier this year when some crazy publication ranked top backs in the AFC North, they either had Mixon above.
Yeah.
I think they had Chubb second or third. And
Didn't they have Najee
Harris and Mixon, I think, were 1, 2, and then Chubb was 3. And we were like, okay,
great.
enough with the hot take stupidity.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude I will say this, Chubb, he gets 1,500, and then he left 500 on the table.
Oh, yeah.
The 500 on the table.
If they, I know,
You know
Bull
what?
makes the point he has the third most carries, but had they used him like the Titans used Derrick Henry, then he's probably a 2,000-yard back.
I'm glad they didn't because now he'll have more in the tank for next year, hopefully.
Well, ultimately,
Looking back now.
the question is, had they ridden him like the Titans ran Derrick Henry, do they sneak 2 more wins out of their 10 losses?
don't know.
I don't know. We'll never know.
It's 3 carries per game that Henry had more.
It is. The
Derrick
difference
Henry
is-
had 7.
The difference isn't that crazy. The
17
whole
at
carries
halftime
thing was
Saturday night.
blown
at
out of
halftime.
proportion.
But they lost.
Well, they lost. Now, how did they lose? They lost on a ridiculous, fluky play that went pick 6 the other way.
Let me
or
ask,
recovered
this
fumble.
is a very easy question. How many shots should Michael Jordan get?
As many as necessary.
There it is.
That's a bad comparison.
That's a great answer, though.
I know.
How many shots did Jordan have to take for the Bulls to win?
As
many as necessary.
And we didn't even rehearse that.
What's
No,
next,
that was
Mike?
well
We
played.
got two more
played,
spin
guys.
zones here, guys. Deshaun Watson up and down. Well, at the end of the day, he had 7 fewer interceptions than Joe Burrow through all season. Deshaun Watson, I think, played better than people giving him credit for.
Hey, that's cringeworthy.
true.
That's cringeworthy. You can't even put them dudes in the same conversation at this point.
He
That's
got
on the spin
to go
zone
back to the
master.
factory.
He got to go back
Spin
down
zone
to.
master.
He got to go back down to.
He gotta go back to
He
the
got to
lab.
get in the
Remember
lab.
the short-lived show on ESPN called Numbers Never Lie?
Yes.
It was short-lived because of crap like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't Michael Smith on that show?
Michael Smith was
By
on
the way,
that.
interesting stat, though. Josh Allen threw more red zone interceptions than any player in the NFL.
Well, I knew midway through the season
Yeah.
that was a problem for them.
He had through like 5 or 6 in the red zone,
Yeah,
which
that's
you would
interesting.
never have guessed.
And
here's-
ultimately, that might be what keeps them out of the Super Bowl.
It
Although
might.
right now, the inertia and the emotional pick to go to the Super Bowl.
But how about
Well,
2 kick returns for a touchdown?
I'm glad you said that.
Unreal.
I'm glad you said that because if they get to this neutral game, the city of Cleveland should be vying for this neutral
No,
game.
it's going to be in
It's gonna
Pasadena. They already said.
Oh, they did?
Did they?
At the Rose Bowl?
Wait a minute. Why Pasadena?
You know what? I better make sure. I read
Yeah,
that, but I'm not sure that's officially
Because
confirmed.
I mean, you're
if
telling
I-
both
if I-
fan bases you're not going to be able to go to the game.
Right.
I know. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's
If
not
I-
confirmed.
I'll look into it after this last.
I
I'm
thought I had read that
If
they
I'm the
would
city
do
of
that.
Cleveland, I am chasing.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
I'm chasing that location.
It's not happening.
If it does
Indianapolis
Well, it's a
happen,
hell of a lot more viable than
if it
Pasadena.
does happen,
Indianapolis said
No,
they're
no,
already
no.
out.
I mean, they
Oh, wait,
played-
Indianapolis is out?
Indianapolis.
Indy's out.
Then I
said
would
they're out.
say,
But
But they're not going to do it because the Bengals are going to beat the Bills, so it's not going to matter.
I say if they do, just say it. Just humor me.
I'll humor you.
If they do,
They should play it here.
right? Because
I'm down with
it's
that.
right there. Then the city could at least get some money.
By the way,
It's like another home game.
After all the rules changes they made last week, the only thing in play is if Buffalo and Kansas City play in the AFC.
Right.
That's the only one.
Right.
We didn't end up with the Bengals-Ravens coin flip.
And it is the 1 and the 2 seed. I mean, chalk has held a lot.
Yeah.
But there's also been a lot of years where chalk doesn't.
Obviously, it could end up with that game.
It could be. I think that'd be the most likely betting scenario right now. But Cincinnati's a juggernaut.
You guys up on it. Yeah. Have we figured out why they just made up rules when rules was there?
No. Crazy.
I've never seen this in any sport.
And the Bengals were not happy about it either.
Although in the end, by Sunday, I was like, why are they still whining about it? Just go beat the Ravens.
Yeah, you got to take care of business.
And they did, but,
But boy, they got screwed, I think. I mean, my goodness.
They did. They got screwed.
I was hoping. Go ahead.
One more spin zone before some super chats. Guys, the Steelers and the Panthers both missed the playoffs by 1 game. 1 game, which means the Panthers and Steelers were eliminated by Cade York's game-winning field goal in Week 1 and Jacoby Brissett's Thursday night national TV beatdown of the Steelers in Week 3. Those are the 2 games that kept the Panthers and the Steelers out the playoffs.
The Panthers only missed by 1?
Shout out to the Browns for eliminating 2 teams from the postseason single-handedly this year. None of the other losses matter. Those are the 2 losses that kept them out. The Panthers
and they damn near kept
done in Week 1.
Tampa Bay out.
And they knocked Washington out.
They helped
That's true, actually. They helped
Washington
knock them out. But these 2 were bona fide.
Yeah.
The only reasons.
Well, not really, because
yes,
because Carolina only ended 1 game out because Tampa had nothing to play for yesterday, right?
They did not.
Bull, this is my spin zone. You don't.
Sorry to get facts in the way.
It's my spin zone.
My bad.
Guys, we got a bunch of super chats we're gonna get to real quick as I scroll up here.
Super chat.
This from Dave Diedrich. He says this is the Browns' best roster since '99 with 10 losses. No excuses. 49ers lost 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. Ravens lost a quarterback. Jags were 3-7 at the midway point. Seattle's opportunity cost is lost.
Facts.
Yep. Absolutely correct.
In fairness, the Ravens did go 2-3 without Lamar.
Next one's from Big Kev, 95-39.
Still got in.
Yep.
The difference between the Browns and the Eagles is that Sirianni encourages aggression. Stefanski encourages compliance. Thoughts?
Interesting word choice.
That's stupid.
I like the word compliance because
the Eagles are a much better team than the Browns do.
But the Eagles, if you look at what they do, they say we have A.J. Brown. You can't stop him. Throw it to him. Mm-hmm. We like 50-50 stuff.
Yeah, but they also had a quarterback playing at an all-pro level.
This was a guy that
the Browns did not.
This was a guy that
2 years ago didn't think could be a quarterback.
That's true.
He was a receiver.
Right?
And you give the coach credit for that. I mean, the coach gets credit for the improved play.
Again, you're proving my point.
That's the point.
He's coaching them up.
Coached the hell out of a receiver.
Our guys coaching them down.
MVP. They went out and made the decision.
Well, that's not fair because Stefanski did coach up Jacoby Brissett.
Philly's coach is coaching the team up, and our coach is coaching the team down.
Come on.
We did before the
2 years ago. Jalen Hurts was a running back.
2 years ago, Jacoby Brissett was definitely better than Jalen Hurts.
No, Jalen Hurts only been in the league 2 years.
Jalen Hurts was a running back. Remember that?
2 years ago, so it was his rookie
year. He was pretty bad.
He was a running back, bro.
What are you talking about? They went to the playoffs with him.
No,
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
No, 2 years ago. But how much did he play that year?
Enough
season?
for Philly folks who want to run him out of town.
There were a lot of those that did.
All right, more super chats. This from Buck, B-U-K. I'm all in on Watson. Get experienced Brandon Cooks who played with him here. We can't wait on Bell and Schultz. I think he meant Schwartz, but he said Schwartz.
Schultz or Schwartz. Get rid of them all.
I saw Bell. The one interception the guy undercut Bell. Yeah.
He made no effort.
Bell didn't even come back for the ball.
He made no effort on that
No effort whatsoever.
None.
We got some more real quick. We actually got a bunch today. Set Apart Laz says Deshaun got sacked 7 times and started seeing ghosts.
There were ghosts.
G-Money Uptown
Some of that's on him. He held on to the ball too long.
He did. Way too long.
Yep.
G-Money Uptown says, I said Flores earlier, people said I was crazy. Well, now you're right, G-Money. Charles T. said Paul Brown is the first recorded coach in the NFL to use film study and analytics to study his opponents back in 1946.
Facts.
Belichick does too, but it's the balance.
And by the way, let's not credit Paul Brown for the use of analytics. Coaches way before Paul Brown
Hold on.
were looking at numbers and trends. Paul Brown did not.
By the way, this is the anniversary of the Browns firing Paul Brown.
Today?
Yes.
Oh,
Football people be sounding crazy. Let's credit the Mayans for their calendar back when they were. We've been using numbers forever.
Wait a second.
Paul Brown is
Hey,
not the grandfather of analytics.
Don't discredit the Incas.
They never get nothing. We got
The Aztecs.
Aztecs and
Bleep
the
them.
Mayans.
Bleep the Aztecs.
The Incas getting
I'm
nothing.
kidding. I got no problem with the Aztecs.
Shout out to them. There is
Three
no
more real quick.
That's
Charles
stupid.
T. also says the one name blame game, it's Haslam. I bet he talked to Clowney about Woods before that piece. Totally undermines the coach. Clowney was just too comfortable. Andrew Berry also. Reggie Glover says Stefanski needs to grow a backbone and start motivating these guys. Stop trying to be the player's buddy.
Not happening.
Clowney
Don't have
needs to
it.
stop jaw-jacking and put some effort into getting off the line.
Jaw-jacking.
And Rin D says, I take a ham sandwich as head coach over Stefanski.
Ooh. By the way,
Stefanski's a new
Did
one.
the players call him Kevin?
Probably.
Someone reached out to me yesterday and said, I'll tell you, part of the problem is the players call him Kevin. And I don't know that to be true, so I can't.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't like it if it is
I've
true.
heard some of the Bengals players call Zach Taylor Zach.
Well, I don't like that either.
That don't bother me.
Do they call Bill Bill?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, that don't
I had
bother
to
me.
run if I
NBA,
called
NBA
coach
call you
anything
by your
but-
first
By the
name.
way,
Oh,
Mike,
I've never
Mike,
called any of my coaches anything.
something
but
Mike brought up on the
NBA, they call you by
post-game
your first
show.
name.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Something Mike brought up on the post-game
Don't call
show
him
that
by
was
no
funny.
coach.
Even though he's
What's
been a
up,
nice
Doug?
little late addition.
What's up, Phil?
Did you see Reggie Ragland chasing?
Oh.
Who was he chasing?
And he caught him though.
No, he didn't.
He got his foot.
No.
Go back and
no,
look at that
no,
play.
No.
Go back
Who
and
was
look
it
at
he
the
was
play.
chasing? I can't even remember now.
It was a wide
Sammy
receiver.
Watkins? No.
I think it
What
was
did Jamel Hill
Steven
say
Sims.
today?
Listen, he did. He got his
Hold on.
foot. He dove, and at the very
Jay,
end, he tripped him up, and he fell down as he was going out of bounds.
You must be thinking of a different play.
Maybe I must be, but there was
Listen,
one play where Ragland was
we
in
love Reggie
pursuit.
Ragland. We did true and false
Up the
on him
right
last
sideline.
Yeah.
Hey, that
Up
was-
the right sideline.
Yes, yeah.
week. Yes.
Yeah, go look at
I
that
gotta
play.
re-look at the play.
He did. He
I'll pull it
dove.
up. There's
He looked
no
like he was
way.
running in quicksand.
And by the way, it's so funny to me to see him in the 19
Oh,
jersey.
my God.
Because Bernie was as skinny as a bird, and he looks like an alumni game player.
Oh, my God.
Oh, look, Bernie's back. And Bernie's even thinner than that now.
Look at
that. Remember when the guy from Green Bay got ejected yesterday, number 7?
Yeah.
And he's walking in the tunnel, and they followed him in the tunnel crying. Jamel Hill put out a tweet this morning talking about, if you guys follow the movies, if my grandma, the caption, the guy walking in the tunnel with his face when he was crying.
She's big with pop culture references.
If my grandmother gave me that chain, that were a person. My grandmother gave me that chain.
My grandmama gave me that
Took
chain.
that chain.
He's
Debo.
the guy that shoved the medical official.
medical
Yeah, that was really dumb. He
Yeah,
apologized.
what was he doing?
He did apologize today.
I think
but
he just got caught up in the moment. I don't know how. By the way, I love what the NFL did yesterday with all of the
Beautiful.
Putting the number 3 on the
Yeah.
field at the 30-yard lines in the Bills font for DeMar Hamlin. I thought that was a genius, a classy touch. I thought they handled the whole thing yesterday extremely appropriately. And I also thought, you talk about irony, the fact that the first play the Buffalo Bills ran post DeMar Hamlin was a kickoff return for a touchdown. That happens so infrequently in the NFL. They did it twice.
I'll tell you what. The another irony is, see, they didn't got together. The NFL, y'all good at PR. They done got together. They say, yeah, we're gonna have to take care of this for this year. That contract, we're gonna have to make sure that he gets just some financial wherewithal in this one. The Bills came out in conjunction with the NFL and said, we're gonna make him whole for this year.
Yeah.
And I did notice. I see Jay's guy. Yeah. For just now, people is.
It's not the first time that's happened, by the way, in these situations.
So they did the right thing by him and got that done. One thing Warren Sapp did say, it was crazy.
Well, why was that even in question?
Well, because they don't have to do it.
They don't got to do it.
They don't have to do it because there's rules with the IR. When you're placed on our IR, you're not paid 100% of your salary.
Well, depending on your contract.
Depending on your contract.
Yes, and he had one of those contracts.
Yeah, he had a contract that's called splits.
Yeah, split, yep.
So he could have been paid a lesser dollar amount. By the way, it was for one game, and there was no way that was ever going to happen. No way.
My point back to DeQuell, because this nonsense is not even occurring in any other sport but football.
That's right.
He was confused. He was like,
They got to negotiate it. They got to get it out.
It's got to get better at negotiations
I like
in the future.
splits. Oh,
What did Warren Sapp say? 'Cause I missed
What
it.
did Warren Sapp say?
So Warren Sapp said, he said it took me 5 years to wait to get into the
pension.
To the 5 years to get into the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
He said, but after that, it also took me 5 years for them to tell me they kicked me off that insurance. And I said, what? I didn't know that. I said, what? He's like, yeah. He said, when you get to an older stage, now I got pre-existing injuries.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
He said, and I'm looking at it from a perspective of, so how are you getting insurance after you got pre-existing injuries?
He buying it.
Now you can't be rejected for that.
Yeah, now it's different.
Yeah.
But players like Warren, and I've talked about Lomas Brown too.
He buying it.
Lomas Brown said, I realized how bad our negotiations had been through the years when I found out after I retired that for me to be covered for future surgeries that I absolutely will need because of injuries that happen in the NFL will come out of my pocket.
It's come out your pocket.
And he was like, I was just stunned by that.
Right.
And it's been the theme since your rant. And, I always say if there's a solution, or if there's a problem, yes. But like to Bull's point, stop crying about the officiating and just do your thing. Stop crying Cincinnati about what they're doing and just go win. At some point, and I think we're here. I think we're closer to being there than we've ever been. And I think it's in large part because of Damar Hamlin and because of people like you that are shining a light on how bad it is.
Yeah.
We're about to see change, guys.
No.
I think that in the next collective bargaining agreement, they're never going to get to where the NBA is and where Major League Baseball is, but it is going to get better.
Even here,
because the players know more
You're
now.
missing one point here, right? So moving forward, anybody that retires is going to have to come in on their own insurance here. The issue is here, in order for, because you can never play like you're playing in the league and carried on that insurance.
It's way too expensive.
The only way that you get some help is that the existing player base cuts that group in on the deal.
Those players got to take care of the older players.
But the thing is, eventually it's going to benefit them down the road.
But see, when you're 22, you don't see that.
No, you don't.
I'm not that.
That's why DeQuell made one of the best points yet. I don't think you were here when DeQuell was on last week. One of the takeaways that I'm making a page of notes for when we do our show as to how we fix it. DeQuell said one of the smartest things I've heard yet. There needs to be in the room with the NFLPA a board of retired players who can be the guiding fathers for the young bucks and tell them, guys, here's something you've never thought about, but this will be your reality if you don't bargain this in.
And
I
tell them where the pitfalls are.
I think it should be younger retired players so the players can relate to them a
I
little
do too.
bit.
Well, DeQuell is perfectly suited to be in that group.
And I'll give you this. I talked to Robert Smith on the phone, right? He gave me a call, after we had the conversation about the rant, and he gave me a story. He said, I think Gene Upshaw was there at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, I remember being a player, a young rookie coming into the league, and they took a large sum of money out of our checks, right? And he looking like, this is way too much. I ain't trying to spend this money. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a rep. Because I'm about to keep doing this. I need to figure out. Then he said he started to get enthralled in it, and then he finally understood as
seeing where that goes.
That's right. He said, it should go percentage-wise based on how much money you make.
He said
right?
It does.
It opened his mind into what they have to do to those guys who are come later who need that.
Guys, this is a great topic. We're almost out of time. I do want to get a final take in because it's really important.
Yeah, go. Absolutely.
There's a guy, he said he knew you, actually, Brad. His name is Jim Mitch.
Do
you know Jim Mitch?
Yeah. Went to school with, my daughters went to school with him. He just passed away.
Yeah, he just passed away this week. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Jim, he was born he was going to be 60 this year. He's a guy, I don't know him personally, but we exchanged a lot of messages on Twitter. And last month, I did this contest where I brought the Baker Mayfield jersey in, and then I tweeted out, I said, hey, whoever sends me the best message about why I should send you the Baker jersey, I will send it your way. And Jim sent me this great message about the Baker jersey, and so I sent him the Baker jersey, and we were communicating via direct message. And just a week ago, I had sent him a message, and I said, hey, Jim, I just wanted to make sure you got the jersey. And he responded, and he said, thank you so much. It's awesome. I gave it to my wife, and blah, blah, blah. He told me this whole thing. He seemed like such a nice guy. He loved sports. He loved the Guardians especially. He was a massive baseball fan. And I don't know what he died from, but he died unexpectedly at the age of 59. I tweeted his obituary earlier. I feel so bad. Condolences to his family. I know he was a married man. Such sad news. I just talked to him a week ago.
And you talked about him on the show.
Yeah.
And he was he made some jokes about his wife
Right, about you wanted to give her the gag.
She was a big Baker fan.
Huge Baker fan, his wife, and he wanted to get this jersey for her, and he gave it to her for Christmas, and then he passed a couple.
Well, we're thinking about his family. It's terrible.
Beautiful family. I mean, they live in rural Ohio. Beautiful family. Daughters are the best. Just beautiful friends with my oldest two kids. Wow. I mean, it was just sudden, right? As a matter of fact, I think his daughter from out of town was just coming in that day, and they got back home, and I think his wife called home to see where he was because he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
And didn't get an answer, and then I think they called the neighbor and said, "Is Jim's car in the driveway?" And they said, "Yeah, Jim's car in the driveway." I said, "Okay." So they said when they got home, they found out that Jim had.
Was it a heart attack?
I'm not quite sure what happened. Yeah.
Sad.
But it is. I mean, the services are Tuesday and Wednesday.
Check out if you're looking to find out more. Just check out my tweet from this morning about Jim. I put his obituary in there.
Overtime. Our overtime segment today. You want to tease that real quick, McNugget?
Yeah, we're gonna preview tonight's national championship game, TCU versus Georgia.
Yeah.
Big game. Chance for the little guys to overtake it, and it should be played on a Saturday. We're gonna talk about how dumb it is they played on a Monday night.
Okay.
College football.
Well, they're trying
Saturday,
to
so
take advantage of that primetime TV audience. All right, we're going to do overtime for the Coaches Tier member. If you're not a Coaches Tier member, join soon. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland.